title, settlement, lender, and recording fees. Maybe you just want to lock in a lower rate or refinance out of paying mortgage insurance. All it takes is a 5-minute phone call to see how we can save you thousands of dollars a year. So call Westland at 888-615-3669. It's the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind. Call us at 888-615-3669. 888-615-3669. That's 888-615-3669.
Lennox Financial Mortgage Corp. DBA Westland. NMLS 3304. Not all loans apply. Equal housing lender.
While the sports world is on hold, here's what IndyCar drivers are discussing on Sports from the Sidelines.
Have you cooked anything since the pandemic?
Well, here's the thing, James. No. But I do own 2 bottles of Pam. I don't know why I own 2 bottles of Pam. I don't own any pans. It must be the pan-Pam debate.
Listen to athletes check in with us throughout the sports world on demand with the SiriusXM app by searching Sports from the Sidelines.
Isn't it about time for somebody's favorite radio program?
The Tony Bruno Show.
The man chosen to save American radio from its horrible future.
He didn't invent radio. He just perfected it.
Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays.
Parental discretion is advised.
The Godfather of sports radio. It is a final. Here is Tony Bruno. Tony Bruno.
Beautiful.
Howdy again, childrens. Welcome to a Taco-less Tuesday. Or as the great Ryan Adams would say, a vegan Taco Tuesday, if you can have such a thing. We'll get to Brian Adams later on, Harry, in our rock block. Tony Bruno, Harry Mays, Miss Robin here all together again on a day when I feel, Harry, that sports will never return. You know how every day we talk about one day I feel good about it, the next day I don't think it's going to happen? Today, Tuesday, May 12th, I don't think it's going to happen. Because every sports writer or columnist in America says we really shouldn't play sports anymore.
Right.
And Dr. Fauci went before a Senate committee in Washington, and he pretty much said that, hey, I did tell you a couple weeks ago that you can go on Tinder and hook up and have sex, but I don't know about playing football or playing baseball. So I don't know who to believe anymore. I certainly don't take my medical advice from Peter King or any other sports writer or columnist, with all due respect. But I just don't get. And again, I'm not one who says go out there and start playing tomorrow with no protection, no safety, none of that stuff. But I don't understand how sports writers who need sports to write about, unless they're ready to retire and can be bought out by whoever they work for and then just go in retirement, like a lot of people have been forced out of the industry, right? They've been forced out of the newspaper industry, the television, radio, you name it, people are losing their jobs. Not just sports people, but a lot of people are losing their jobs. But sports writers, again, I don't want them to be rah-rah cheerleaders and say, yeah, let's come out there and play it right now, boys.
No, but there seems to be a lot of doom and gloom when it comes to some of the major big-name columnists. I was reading Jay Mariotti today.
Yes, we had Jay on the show.
We had him on.
He's gotten more doom and gloom in the last couple of weeks.
It's unbelievable. It really is.
Can I just bring up the fact, when have you ever gone with the norm? When have you ever listened and not had your own opinion about something?
I have my own opinion about everything. That's why I've always done this way. And again, I'm not an open See, there's no middle ground, unfortunately. There's the extremes.
There's no nuance anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I love nuance, Harry. We may play a little block of nuance later on. I think Joe C. has their album.
Is that Yacht Rock Radio?
No.
Yacht Rock Radio. But my point is, why don't you just ignore everybody else's doom and gloom and stay positive?
I do.
Well,
that's
tough,
what we're doing.
It's hard to do that, though. I'm with Tony today. I vacillate back and forth. Some days I'm really positive, looking forward to when the PGA Tour starts, and then baseball is going to get going July 1, and then I read this baseball proposal, and then I read 5 columns that say there's no way it's going to happen because the players will never agree to it.
And it's interesting because, we get a list every day of pretty much every major newspaper column, and it's sent to us, and I just read the headlines. And every columnist, it seems, and if there's one out there who's not saying just open up and start playing, but looking at this as, we really can't do this. We need a vaccine, which could be 18 months away. Maybe. Because Dr. Fauci said it may take. There are still viruses that don't have a vaccine.
Right.
So if everybody's taking the words of the same people who said, once we flatten the curve, then we can start reopening stuff. And some states are and some aren't. Again, I'm not telling you I know more than anybody else. I don't know. I know just as much as any of these other strappers who write newspaper columns or who tell you facts that aren't in existence. I want positivity. And every day there seems to be more and more negative stuff. Mm-hmm. And I understand baseball yesterday, we told you about the owners, and now the players are meeting and voting on it. The bottom line, we're going to have Adnan Virk's going to join us in our second hour. He's with the MLB Network now.
He's a Canadian.
Canadian, eh?
Yeah. Canadians are a big theme on the show today, I think.
Well, no, we're not. One Canadian has been bounced.
Well, right, but no, Brian Adams is.
But he's not coming on the show.
But there's an update for
I'll
him.
make a mistake later. Maybe he'll calm down, and we'll see what happens with Brian Adams. But that's not. Yeah, he's Canadian, but Adnan's Canadian, of course, and Troy Aikman's not Canadian.
No,
he's going
not.
to be on the show today, right?
Yeah.
And also, Sean Salisbury. He's not Canadian. He's going to be on the show later on today.
He's from Texas.
Damn right. So we got a lot of good stuff going on. The bottom line is the baseball situation now is going to become an ugly game between the owners and the players, and it always is. Mm-hmm. And especially this year because you have players saying, we don't want to go out there and bring our families, so now they've changed the plan, and the plan would be playing them in home stadiums with no fans.
Right.
But the biggest problem here, because it's really a convoluted story, and people who have their own problems at home, they don't want to hear. And by the way, Jeff Passan, who used to work at Yahoo, is at ESPN, great baseball writer.
Yeah.
He's got an incredible breakdown, like 52 ways to look at this baseball negotiation between the owners and the Players Association.
Yeah, it was too much for me to read.
And it's very, your head explodes. But he does a great job of breaking it down.
Yeah.
And he looks at both sides of the issue, and he sees who's got the most to lose in this. And certainly, both sides. The owners, meanwhile, don't have to go out and go into hotel rooms and travel the country during the virus. Mm-hmm. And they're not making any money with no games. They can't open a ballpark, and even if they do, they'll have no fans in the stands.
Right.
So they're going to grouse about, I don't have the ticket revenue coming in as an owner, so therefore I can't pay 50-50.
Concessions and all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff goes away. And again, I'm not taking sides here because both sides have a lot to lose. The players have a lot to lose, even if it's only going to be 50% of their salary for a shortened season, a half of a season.
Yeah.
They still know that the eligibility for free agency, that's going to be hurt if they don't play a half a season. Maybe the owners concede and say, listen, because of all the situations, all these players, we're going to give you the full season credit towards your eligibility, for free agency,
right.
which is what players
That's
want.
That's a big deal for players.
Absolutely it is. And the safety is a big deal for everybody, not just the players, but the owners and the families involved. So it's really you can see both sides of the argument, but the also thing I can see, Harry, is both sides lose. Because go back to 1994, and I remember it vividly. I was at ESPN, and baseball shut down in August, remember?
Mm-hmm. In 94, yeah.
Because the owners wanted to implement a salary cap. And the players said, hell no. And the players were so steadfast against the salary cap, they said, we're going on strike. They went on strike in August, and there was no baseball, no World Series. There was no World Series champion. And so that was that was a labor dispute. Mm-hmm. This is not really it's a combination labor dispute and way to try to figure out something that's never had to happen before, which is how do we play baseball and make it safe? Not just obviously the fans in the stands are still a long way from happening, but the players involved, the coaches, everybody who's around, and the families of the players. Like Sean Doolittle says, my wife's got asthma, and even though we're going to be quarantined together, what happens, I come in, I'm getting tested all the time. So there's a lot of legitimate concerns from the athletes involved. And even the UFC guys who are out there beating their brains out and are going to fight again on Wednesday night, they're getting ripped by columnists. Oh, those guys, what did they do? What did they do? They didn't prove anything. Because people are saying, hey, it's good to see some live sports back. So no matter what you do in this world, Harry,
you're going to get criticized.
You're going to get criticized. Yeah. What do they think they're doing? What's Dana White thinking
Selfish.
there?
Yeah.
What's Dana White thinking out there? Not realizing that the fighters are tested, the fighters agree to do this, and they get paid to do this.
Right. Nobody's holding a gun to their head.
And who else is being threatened? Whose life is being threatened by guys fighting in an empty gym with doctors standing by and all the other important things that have to be done for this to work. This is not a rant. This is just basically me trying to and wanting to be good every day. I want to feel positive every day. I don't want to be bombarded with negativity. If I wanted to do that, I'd just sit at home and watch cable news all day and have people telling me what to think one way or the other. I try to think for myself. But we got a lot of good stuff today, Harry. We got a lot of football news. Troy Aikman's going to join us. We got the NBA and China once again at odds. Did you see that story? And we have a couple of big things that happen on this date in history, which we'll get to later on. And yes, Harry, NASCAR returns this weekend. Darlington, South Carolina. You going to be watching that?
I'll watch a little bit of it. Sure.
Sunday?
Sunday, I'm going to be
playing golf, maybe.
Well, yeah, probably. But
Sunday.
Harry went out and played golf, and it was 42 degrees and blustery, and he goes out and plays golf.
Yeah, it was cold this morning.
I got to give you one of those.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a wonderful day. But I will be watching that Dustin Johnson, Rory McIlroy thing against Ricky Fowler and Matthew Wolff. I'm interested in that.
And we'll actually have a choice on television. Mm-hmm. You'll have NASCAR.
I know.
You'll have golf.
I'll put the NASCAR on the small TV. And
maybe the Bundesliga. The Bundesliga is starting this weekend. The EPL is going to start in June.
Now you're getting me pumped up again, see?
Because that's what we're here for sports.
Right.
Okay? And if leagues have determined that it's safe enough for their athletes to go out and play, I'm going to watch it. I'm not going to sit here and denounce the leagues and denounce the athletes and the groups who put this together and say, I know better than you, though you listen to me because I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
You listen to me, EPL, Bundesliga. You listen to me.
Wow, that sounds so familiar.
You've got to stay shut down.
18 more months.
Forever.
I don't know if I'll make it 18 months.
If we're shut down for 18 months, I mean, what would you do? Seriously, what would you do?
Same thing I'm doing every day here. I'm still going to go out.
But, I mean, let's say, in 18 – if there's no sports, how does sports radio survive for 18 months?
I know I will survive.
We're good?
You think I'm worried about – we've been doing it for 6 weeks without
sports. We're also doing it on the guise that sports is coming back.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we are.
No, we're not.
Well, I am.
I have full faith.
I'm thinking the NFL is going to be playing in September and college football and all that.
I have full faith that you will be able to continue talking about nothing for another.
Really?
Yes.
Listen, I've made a career out of talking sports and having fun doing so.
Right.
And so we will still have at least discussions about sports. Some sports will come back. I don't believe we're going to be shut down for 18 months.
Remember back in the day.
Yeah.
And now I got people ripping me again. Joe Eunice is remote, who's about one more tweet away from being blocked.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Could that happen on the show today?
It could happen. And if it does, you will be the first to hear it right here. With Tony Bruno and Harry May.
Now, what did he say this time that has him on the verge of being blocked?
I don't even want to read it.
You don't even want to read it?
I'll read it to
right.
you. You want me to read it? I'll read it right now. Joe Eunice is remote. Joe Eunice used to be one of our producers.
I love Joe Eunice.
And I love Joe Eunice,
But Joe
too.
Eunice's remote is not the same.
No, he's
just another guy.
He's just another guy with a fake Twitter account who has issues. But then again, so do most people on Twitter. People will say, I have issues. Harry, I really thought your insertion into the show would have tamped down the old man shaking fist at the cloud-style rants a bit. I know you're trying to steer the ship back to fun and hijinks versus the above 60 Facebook rant kind of vibe.
What does that even mean at the end?
Above 60 Facebook rant kind of vibe?
Oh, okay. So now I get it. But you're not on Facebook, and you don't rant on Facebook.
No. He's saying that because I'm over 60.
Oh, okay.
He should feel bad for me because I'm in that age group that is vulnerable.
Right.
So shouldn't he be feeling sorry for me?
And also,
I'm vulnerable, Harry.
He should be concerned about you.
At least I don't have Governor Cuomo telling me to go into a nursing home.
But also, we have established that your mental age is definitely not the same as your physical age.
And who gets it back to fun and hijinks more than this reporter, Harry?
Exactly. Is
that your job to get it back to fun and hijinks?
That's your job. I mean, you made your bones on fun and hijinks.
Damn right I did. And banging cheerleaders. But that was a different part of my life when I was younger. Someone once said, I think it was Ricky Nelson, you can't please everyone, so you got to please yourself.
That's garden party.
I went to a garden party.
Yeah.
Not this summer, though, because I will get arrested.
Well, you got to sit 6 feet apart.
That makes that garden party no fun.
And wear your mask.
Troy Aikman's going to join us next. How about them Cowboys? We'll talk to Troy about the NFL, what's going on with him and the Dallas Cowboys. That's all still ahead. It's Tony and Harry having fun.
Stop saying we need sports back. We don't. Let them lose money.
Let me be me.
Pitt and GR, I think people that say that, they miss the point of what sports, it's not just about the entertainment value that sports brings. There is such a huge infrastructure that surrounds all sports. It would mean thousands and thousands of jobs.
Robin, everybody knows this.
Well, no, I'm responding to somebody in the chat room. And there is a mental, like, when people are already needing entertainment, and when there are people that are relying on that distraction of their daily lives that sports brings to them, there's a major depression when they don't have it.
Dark side there for a minute. You were getting me nervous. What do you mean? You were losing your
The dark side.
Oh,
you were slipping to the other side, worrying about being shut down for 18 months.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
No, we're tired of hearing about we have to
Yeah.
be shut down for 18 months.
Yeah, I think it's more
Who are
about
these people? They don't know.
See, and-
Dr. Fauci doesn't know. Burks doesn't know. None of these people know.
Pitt and GR, I don't think it's just about getting sports back. I think that sports represents something. It represents normalcy. Huh?
Rob, yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I think that that's one of the...
No, it's not. People need sports to survive. The people who play sports, the people who bet on sports, it's an industry. It's like the restaurant industry.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's a huge, huge piece. But I agree with Pitt and GR that I don't necessarily feel bad for the players themselves because a lot of them have so much money.
That's not what we're discussing
Yeah.
here, Robin.
It's not about the players. It's about the industry.
Robin, now people are saying you're starting to sound like Karen.
I am not a
Don't
Karen.
be a Karen.
I am not a Karen.
Wait, this is something that just came down from the Los Angeles Times, Robin. Breaking news. This is the actual. This isn't some fake account. Los Angeles County stay-at-home orders will, with all certainty, be extended for the next 3 months. Los Angeles County Public Health Director Barbara Ferrar acknowledges doing a Board of Supervisor meeting
That
today.
is crazy.
We would like to thank the state of California for participating.
I have a feeling that there's a lot of people going to be moving out of L.A. There is no logic.
Because they want the federal government to bail them out.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. Crazy. Beer vac. Keep it up, Robin. Tony needs a good rant to clean out a system.
I don't need a
Are
rant
you
at
building
all.
up? Do you feel it building up, Tony?
No.
Because I have my rant page, my rant graphics. They're ready. They're ready for you.
Is Troy calling us?
No, we're calling him.
Joe Eunice Remote says, I love you guys. It's not like I was cursing or calling names. No, calling me a 60-year-old Facebook yelling at clouds guy is not calling names.
Some might see that as an insult. I don't know. I am turning on the air. I'm sorry, Tony.
No, turn it on now. But I had to put it. I was cold. Now we need some circulation in here. Is he calling us?
Bruno's big ass fan.
We do not have Troy yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? Let me text him and tell him what
Yes,
phone number.
please, Ronnie.
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
Tony and Harry awaiting Troy Aikman. While we wait, Harry, we have breaking news out of Los Angeles, California. Hello. Not this part. This place is okay, I think.
San Luis Obispo, California. Hello.
This is not affected. San Luis Obispo, California is not in Los Angeles County.
Is this good or bad news?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Okay.
Los Angeles County stay-at-home orders will now, with all certainty, be extended for the next 3 months.
What?
Says the county public health director, Barbara Ferrer, at a meeting on Tuesday afternoon. That's it. Closed down all of Los Angeles County. So let's see, May, June, July, August. You're basically going to be, it will be a, not forget about endless summer. It will be a summer that never happened.
My God.
On the West Coast. Is Troy there? Not yet. Okay.
Wow. Now,
so there you have it, Harry.
Now the governor's not even saying this.
No, this is the public health director.
Well, what does she know?
Well, she's. I don't know what she knows, but she said it would only change.
She doesn't make the call.
She says it will be extended. So she's recommending that it be extended.
That's what it sounds like.
It's a good thing Troy Aikman got out of there a long time ago, and then he went to the NFL, and now he's not even in L.A. anymore because they're shutting it down until the middle of August now. Hall of Famer, Dallas Cowboy legend, and a guy I haven't talked to in a long, long time, but we finally got a hold of him, the great Troy Aikman. Troy, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Tony. How you doing?
Not as good as you. I haven't been on Jerry's boat. Now, have you been on Jerry's?
Yeah, well, I haven't either. No, I have not.
You've never been. Wait.
I've seen it about as up close as you have, just on TV.
Well, how is that possible?
That's
how
an
has Troy
outrage.
Aikman never been on Jerry's yacht?
That's an outrage, right? I heard that.
It is.
It's okay.
Now,
I'm not sure Jimmy Johnson's been on it either.
Well, I could see that. Have you been on Jimmy's boat, the Five Rings, down in Miami?
I have been on that boat. I've been on it several times. Yeah, it's a pretty good setup he has out there.
Now, was it safe to assume? I don't like to draw conclusions or speculate on this show, Troy. But is there bad blood between you and Jerry Jones?
No, there's not at all. No, I guess though there are some times, with this profession that I'm in, that sometimes I think everybody is left wondering why some things are done the way that they are, and so I tend to question those things, and that usually takes up a pretty good headlines when I say something, even as innocently as it may be.
Troy Aikman with Fox, of course. So, first of all, I got to ask you about your home situation. We had Joe Buck on, your partner, last week. Ernie Johnson. I mean, everybody involved in the sports world, especially prominent people like you guys. This is something you're not used to. Now, I know you're in the off season normally, but football business has been going on. But the actual now thoughts about practicing and OTAs and all that stuff's out the window. So, what's going on in your life right now as all of this is happening around us?
Yeah, Tony, pretty much the same as what's happening, with everybody else. We've got 4 teenagers here at the house, 2 of which are seniors. So, we're in the middle of that, and knowing how many, great memories and activities and events that these kids are missing out on, high school seniors as well as collegiate seniors. And so I've got, my daughter is graduating, has graduated, I guess, with the exception of, They did a parade around the school last week, and they've pushed the graduation back here until July, at least for this school. So we're hopeful that is able to go through. And then will she start college on time? She's going to be going to Washington and Lee, and then I've got another junior who's going to be a senior, and how will that affect her? So that's been the biggest part, I guess, of my days is kind of helping her navigate all that's going on within her schooling and that, and then just working out, staying here at the house, watching some film, getting ready as best I can for the NFL season, and wondering like everyone else as to whether or not it's going to happen. It's the timing of it as it relates to the NFL. probably couldn't have been better in the fact that the season ended and now they've got this whole off season. They weren't impacted like the NBA and then Major League Baseball and so many of these other sports. And at the time I was saying, wow, I can't imagine that we're not back to some normalcy by September. But, with each passing week, it seems like there may be more and more precautions than what I had initially believed when all this broke out.
Yeah, I was mentioning the story of the commissioner, the public health director. Now, she hasn't officially made it a shutdown for the next 3 months. She says if things don't change, she could see that the restrictions will stay in place in Los Angeles County, California, for 3 months. And so every day I try to be positive. I feel good one day about sports happening, and the next day I come in here and I'm thinking, wow, we're not going to have baseball now. It looks like they're going to be fighting for a while, and there's going to be a drop-dead date where they can play. The NBA, who knows? So many people are saying don't play. And then you have, then you have hockey where nobody's saying anything in that league. So it's really, really crazy. And I know I know you're a positive guy. I'm a positive guy. But do you go like on this roller coaster every day, like the rest of us, not wondering? One day you're feeling like something's going to happen, the next day you think, oh, it's not.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess. That's it's kind of part of it. And I'm kind of a news junkie, so I'm constantly watching the news and hearing everything that's being said. I don't know if that's good or not, but it's just I don't know. I think everybody obviously has an opinion on this. I think there are certainly those that are very susceptible, and precautions need to be made. And then, at the same time, I do think there's some validity in trying to balance. Okay, how do we keep as many people as safe as possible, and yet at the same time address the economics of it all and the impact that that's had and how that's affecting a lot of people's lives as well. And you listen to some people, and maybe that's affecting people in a more negative way than the actual virus itself. So I tend to, even though we're at a time when everything tends to get a little bit politicized, I tend to look at the good from both sides as to what's happening and, okay, how can we come to an agreement that kind of tries to, as I said, keep people safe and yet at the same time open up some business. Because, Tony, I'm afraid that if this continues for another 3-4 months, like you're saying, like they're potentially claiming out west, that people are going to get restless. We've already seen that in other parts of the country, and I just don't know how much longer people are willing to adhere to the stay-home policy.
All right, well, let's roll it forward to the fall, Troy. 4:25 start, Cowboys Stadium, Eagles and the Cowboys. And the building is absolutely empty. Have you pondered that reality?
Actually, I have, and I don't know. I don't know how that works. I was talking to my bosses there at Fox, and I don't want to say more than I probably should, but they're looking at different ways as to how that can be handled if, in fact, that's our reality. And obviously something would have to be done in order to make the experience at home worthwhile. I think we saw that during the draft. And if you're at home watching a football game and there's nobody in the stands, that has a huge impact on the viewing experience. It has an impact on us as broadcasters in trying to call that game and create an excitement when there's not much to be found, within the stadium. So I think that the necessary steps will be made. I think it would. I don't know that those at home watching it would be able to tell a big difference. But I look at it more, not so much from my perspective, but really those players that are out there playing. And I've seen a number of guys who have commented on, how that might feel if that becomes a reality. That would be different. Obviously, they go through that in practice, but it's a little bit different than when you're in a big stadium and if there were no fans there. So much for home field advantage. Wherever it is you have to go play, it's not nearly as daunting. I know that I don't know the economics of it for the owners. I know that would be a lot of lost revenue, but would that be something that the owners might just simply say, hey, we're not going to play if there's no fans in the stands? I know some colleges have said that, some commissioners. I haven't heard a position by the NFL or the owners on that front. I think everybody's just kind of, holding pat and not really getting into those scenarios until they absolutely have to comment on them.
Talking with Troy Aikman, Tony Bruno, and Harry Mays here. Miss Robin hanging out, waiting for things to happen. Troy, the other thing is they're in the Metroplex. Everybody's on Dak watch. So you're obviously closer to the situation. One day it's this amount, that amount. They're not going to get it done. They are going to get it done. That's one thing that can happen here is the negotiating process can continue with Jerry and Dak and his people. Do you think this gets done before the season starts? Even if the season doesn't start, they have to get it done?
I believe that it will. I think both sides want to get it done. Obviously, Dak wants to get it done, but the Cowboys do as well, in my opinion. It seems to me that the real sticking point right now isn't so much the numbers. I think the numbers that have been offered have been really good. It seems that the sticking point is whether or not it's going to be a 4-year contract or a 5-year contract. Dak wants 4 years. The Cowboys want 5. Who will prevail in that regard, I guess, is the only question. Tony, I'm not so sure there's a Dak watch. I mean, there's a lot of things to be watching right now in the world and in Dallas, Texas, but Dak's going to be he by many standards, by most standards, he's extremely wealthy already. And no matter how you cut it, whether he gets a new deal or not, he's hit the lottery. He's going to be just fine. So I'm not too worried about Dak and his future.
What was your thoughts when you found out that Tom Brady was no longer going to be a Patriot and he ends up in Tampa with Bruce Arians and then
an NFC team, so they get to do Tom Brady games more often.
Troy will be in Tampa quite a few times, I imagine, this year.
Yeah, we're not in Tampa, but we're in New Orleans with the Saints hosting the Buccaneers on opening weekend. So we've got them on the schedule quite a bit. All the networks do, and I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it on two fronts. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how Tom Brady does. It'll be different for him. I think that in a lot of ways it'll be refreshing. I think for him to be, in his 20th season and to get a chance to start fresh and kind of have to prove himself to a different locker room all over again, it's part of it. And I'm sure he's reinvigorated about it. And then in New England, I think that as much as Tom and Bill have accomplished together, I guess that's the only thing left for both of them is to kind of prove that they can win without the other, and they're both going to get that opportunity. And I still think New England's going to go on and be very successful, and I think Tampa's going to, they're already as one of the favorites for the Super Bowl, and I don't think that's misguided. I think that is probably as it should be. They get, one of the best tight ends to ever suit up in Gronk out of retirement, so that's good. They've got a lot of weapons, and I think Bruce Arians is a good fit right now for Tom, and a chance for Tom to do things a little bit differently from what he has been doing for so much of his career, and I'm excited about it for him.
Talking with Troy Aikman. Troy, of course, Dallas is always a big story, and they made some changes. New head coach, McCarthy coming in. That was a pretty long run for the former coach, Jason Garrett. And so what's the vibe there? Because, we're not hearing a lot about Mike McCarthy. Everybody's talking about Dak, obviously, and the draft and CeeDee Lamb and all the other stuff. But it doesn't seem to be, I don't know, because I don't live there and you're down there. Is there any buzz about Mike McCarthy?
Not so much right now. There certainly was when he was hired. And the only reason why there's not much buzz is because there's just not much going on, with football, as we know. But I think it was a great hire. I have great respect for Mike. I got to know him when he was in Green Bay. His resume speaks for itself for what he did in Green Bay, and now he gets the chance to kind of mold this football team into the one that he envisions. He's got a lot to work with, a team that underachieved a year ago, really talented, and a really talented young quarterback. I think that when Mike was available and the Cowboys were looking for a head coach and he was interviewing, I thought it would be a great hire. I didn't think it would happen, though, quite honestly. I just didn't know. I didn't foresee it being a great fit for Mike, and I didn't see it being a situation that the Cowboys would get comfortable with Mike during that process. And so the fact that they were able to, I was thrilled about, because I think that I don't know that the Cowboys could have hired a better guy for this football team and a more qualified guy for what he had accomplished and where this team feels that they're at, and the belief that they're on the cusp of doing some really great things. And as you know, I mean, it seems that we've been saying that for a long time, but I do know that this is a team that has a lot of talent. And last year that became the big question is they struggled. A lot of people here locally were questioning, well, just how good is this roster? And as someone who gets a chance to go around the NFL and see all the teams, there's not many head coaches that wouldn't have traded teams with Dallas Cowboys. And so Mike steps into a really good situation with some established players and some really great players at some key spots.
What's your assessment of Joe Burrow and the fantastic year he had at LSU, now taking his talents to Cincinnati?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his, and it just seemed like, I didn't study him a whole lot, did not work the draft, but as an educated fan, I guess you could say, watching him last season, and it was pretty remarkable that the game just never was too big for him on the biggest stages. When it seemed like, okay, well, now he's kind of up against the wall a little bit, he'd come out and he'd answer, and he was phenomenal. So I have not had a chance to meet him. I've seen a number of his interviews. I like what I've seen of him. I think he's a confident guy. I think he's well-trained. He's going to a place, in his neck of the woods there in Ohio, and an organization that has had their share of problems, and he gets a chance to kind of be on the ground floor and turn that thing around. And I'm hopeful that he's able to. I think there's, every year it seems that there are quarterbacks, top prospects that everybody is really high on, and then we all watch and see how those careers unfold. And I've said many, many times that there are a number of, in my opinion, great quarterbacks over the years that have just simply gone to situations that hasn't allowed them to reach their full potential. No fault of their own, but whether they just don't have good players around them, they don't have the right coaching staff, the organization, for whatever reason, just doesn't know how to bring along a young, talented signal caller. There are a number of things that go into being able to be a great player as a quarterback, and I'm hopeful that this is a good fit for him, and he gets a chance to step in and realize his talents, because it's someone who's been on both ends of that. Came in as a rookie, number 1 overall pick, and really struggled. 0-11 my rookie year as a starter. First couple of seasons, not very good, and then we got on a run. This is a really great occupation when you're winning. And when you're not, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. It's as miserable as it can possibly be. And so I pull for all these guys. I pull for all players to reach their potential, but especially these quarterbacks, because there's so much attention that's paid to them and expectations. And I'm hopeful that Cincinnati is able to put the right pieces around Joe and allow him to reach his potential.
Well, last thing, Troy, and that, of course, is the NFC East. The Eagles found a way to win it because nobody seemed to want it last year. And they got Carson Wentz to play most of the season. They made the playoffs, win the division. But this entire NFC East division has really improved, you would think. The Eagles, obviously, they would think got better. Cowboys, as you mentioned, with the weapons now for Dak. And then you look at Washington with a quarterback now and another chance with a new coach. Every single team in this division looks like it's going to be a more competitive and tougher fought race to win that division this year, if they play, of course.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think that's I know that there's 32 teams that as we talk right now in May, they all feel optimistic and they all feel that they're going to be better than they were a year ago. I think, even New England, having lost their franchise quarterback, I'm sure that there's an optimism there that believes that they can be better than what they were, and I think that's just natural. That's as it should be. But I do agree with you that evaluating the NFC East objectively, not that some of these teams didn't have anywhere to go but up, but I think that they have gotten better, and I think that some of the moves that have been made within the coaching ranks will probably be good for some of those teams. It would appear going into the season that it's a two-team race with the Eagles and the Cowboys because of what they've done the last couple of seasons. But I think that the Giants and or Redskins will step up and probably surprise most people. I expect them to certainly be better than where they were a year ago, and I think the division will be much more competitive.
One last one. You were winning your championships during this time, but The Last Dance is the best sports television that we have right now. I'd love to get your perspective on it because, I mean, this was when you and the Cowboys were also winning during MJ's time.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I've been all over it and following it. I've had a chance to play some golf with Mike over the years and know firsthand how competitive he is. And I just think it's so well done, the behind-the-scenes stuff, and to get a chance to kind of go behind the curtain and see what all went into that dynasty and how they held it together and the demands on all of them. And it's impressive. I've always held Phil Jackson in really high regard. I've been a huge fan of his. I don't say that about a lot of people, but he's been everything that I thought that he was, even at the time when they were going through this. He's just such a great leader for that organization and works so well with the different personalities. It's been impressive. And all those guys, I think there's a bit, having been on a great dynasty myself, there's some sacrifices, and there has to be some unselfishness that comes with being a part of something like that. And I've seen that firsthand with the Bulls. There's been actually some conversation that there's always been a little bit, but even more so now with the success of The Last Dance, about people wanting to, maybe do something on our 90s Cowboys team, which to me there's been enough talk about that and what happened with Jimmy and Jerry and, all that went into those years. But I do think if something was done the way that it's been done with The Last Dance, I think it could be a really great documentary that a lot of people would really enjoy.
I think, there have been a lot of books written about the Cowboys, but you know how it is. We lived through that era, but we knew what happened, but we don't. I think we know more about the Cowboys of the 90s than we did about the Bulls of that era when it was happening.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, there's no question. Almost to the point. I mean, I still get asked, hey, someone's writing a book on the Cowboys in the 90s. I'm so tired of talking about, what happened with Jimmy and Jerry and, where did, who cares? I mean, it's 25 years ago, but people do care. And even I was just reading today that a number of NFL players that, young guys, you forget how old we're getting, Tony, but, some of these young players that just weren't around to watch Michael Jordan play firsthand and how they've gotten into this and have really been excited about the series and catching up with the way that the Bulls were able to do it all. And I think that's great. I love it when some of our young athletes are interested in some of the history of the sport and those that came before them.
Troy Aikman. I've always been a fan, even when he was playing against my Philadelphia Eagles. Troy and I always had this respect thing going on. I don't know why you ever, Tony. I don't know why you ever liked me, Troy. I mean, I had legitimate reason to love you. You were one of the great players.
I go way back. You and Andrew Siciliano, and I just love the whole approach that you had to radio. I love the honesty. I love the energy that you brought. I'm a huge fan. I'm thrilled to be on. I'll come on anytime you ask me to. And look forward to seeing you down the road.
All right, Troy, thank you so much. Hey, good luck with the graduations and stuff. But you have a big enough property. You can have your own party there and not have to worry about people in Dallas coming after you and the governor or anybody else. And we're back on in Texas. We're back on all over the place on Sirius XM, SB Nation Radio. So it's great to be be back on the national scene again, Troy. And thank you for coming on. I really
appreciate it. Great having you back, my man.
Thank you, Troy.
Thanks,
there he is,
Troy.
ladies and gentlemen. Troy Aikman. Let's put your hands together, hey.
Man, I could have talked to him for another hour or so.
I know. I love talking to Troy.
Man, he is so nice. I'm lucky I got to meet him once, but not for very long. But he's nicer than you think he is. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Sort of like me, Robin. People don't realize.
Exactly like you.
Right.
Except I don't have 3 Super Bowl rings or any of that stuff. But it's funny, all those Cowboy guys from those teams that I used to joke around with on the air,
Michael Irvin,
I have great relationships with those guys. You would think that they would all hate me, but they don't because they know that I'm just a regular good guy. I'm just a guy who loves sports and understands rivalries. We're coming back. Tony and Harry, stick around. It is a Taco Tuesday, yo.
No, we're not calling it Taco Tuesday.
I know. I didn't want to say Tata right there.
Tito's.
Tito's Tuesday. Hello.
Tito's Tuesday. T-To's
That was good
Toes.
stuff with Troy, was it not?
Tito Tata.
Beach Babe, they do hate you, Bruno.
Yep, it's clear. They hate him.
No, they hate you. They hate you, Beach Babe. Dawn, I know who you are now. I just got a kiss on my Twitter feed from Courtney Combs. No. Yes, she gave me a little kiss back. Well, she posted something this morning, and I blew a kiss at her, and then she just gave me one back.
So it was
Talk about
reciprocating. It was a reciprocal kiss.
It wasn't unsolicited, no.
Tone, what's the time on the cue card?
59, 56, 59, 56, 59.
Where am I?
It is a Tito's Tuesday. Except I'm tapped out of Tito's. I need a shipment. Sangria Tuesday. Doesn't rhyme. It would be Sangria Sunday or Saturday. You can't have a Sangria Tuesday.
It's the alliteration.
I tell you, man.
Exactly.
A Last Dance type of thing with those 90s Cowboys would be phenomenal.
Absolutely. You should put something in the works here, Harry. You're the guy who brought it up.
Well, I just thought it would be interesting to hear him talk about it because he was winning his champ. Like he and those Cowboys were like neck and neck with the Bulls as far they owned sports back in the early 90s.
Absolutely
those two franchises. So it's kind of like interesting. Like, were you paying attention to that? Like, I wanted to ask him something else, but we ran out of time. But how Jordan, it's obvious, he still loathes the Pistons.
Yep.
They have those rivalries. They still dislike. There's a dislike 30 years later for certain players and teams.
But Troy doesn't have that. Troy's not like that against the Eagles teams. You know, the Reggie White team with the 7-11 sack game. He respects great players. He's not one of those guys like, I really hated. He may have said he didn't like playing against certain teams, but he never hated the opposition.
Right.
And there are very few players that do that anymore. You know, that's old school.
Well, right. Yeah, nowadays it's almost
everybody's buddy and stuff.
It's almost non-existent.
And that's the way it should be. I mean, you really shouldn't.
You shouldn't have bounty bowls?
You shouldn't have bounty bowls unless they bring Buddy Ryan back. He okays it.
How about him never being on Jerry's yacht? That is outrageous.
No, I'm stunned.
I am stunned too.
If I'm Jerry Jones, like he's one of the first guys I'm inviting on the damn thing.
I mean, out of all the people that you would think, of course he's been on.
He quarterbacked you to 3 rings. Like,
it's
dude.
weird. When did Jerry get the boat? I mean, he's had it for a while.
He's
it's not like
he keeps
many
it in
years.
Florida most of the time, but. You know, Jimmy Johnson's boat's in Miami, and Troy's been on that a lot. That's more of a fishing boat, though.
Yeah, Play Action Reel says, I forgot to ask Troy for any hookups on golf.
Oh.
I wouldn't do that to him. That's only for, like, media guys.
You drew the line there?
Yeah, I'm not
I think he could get you on a couple of tracks down there.
He probably could, but I wouldn't ask that of him.
You asked Jim Nance.
No, I didn't ask Jim.
No, not really. No. It's assumed with him.
Greg Hardy's even been on the yacht twice. Oh, that was a different boat. Remember when Romo and all those guys went on that Cabo thing?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
During the bye week.
Yeah, they went during the bye
like,
week, and then everything went to hell after that. Any teams, when football teams go on boats on bye weeks, whether it's the Vikings, the Vikings had their Lake Minnetonka.
Yes.
Remember?
That seemed
athletes and boats, not a good mix.
That seemed like a cruise I could have gone on, that Minnetonka cruise.
Oh, yeah. A little chilly up there.
What did I just do with my clippy cookie?
It's a 36 contender that Jimmy has down there. It's more of a fishing boat, though. But it's a nice boat. It's a nice boat. Greg Hardy's been on the
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
And now, of course, can we call them the Rogues Gallery on our Twitch and Twitter feeds? You can follow on Twitter at Tony Bruno Show on Twitter and Instagram at Tony Bruno Show 1, right, Robin, on Instagram?
That is correct.
Harry Mays?
At Harry Mays TU.
That's Instagram and
No.
Twitter?
Forget Instagram.
What do you mean forget Instagram?
Instagram is just if you want to see, where I'm playing golf. Nobody cares about that. That's just for like.
If you want to communicate with you, it's on Twitter.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Exactly.
At Harry Mays TU.
And then on the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Tony Bruno Show. The people, it's like family. It's like the whole family gets together. We sit around the radio, and we just have a good time.
And they rip McMullen even when he's not on.
Exactly. Exactly right. But it's great talking to Troy. I'm surprised. The first time I ever met him, I met him when I was at that Super Bowl in Arizona the last time they won. So I was around the Cowboys a lot because they were in the playoffs.
That one.
The Neil O'Donnell game. And Larry Brown became the Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
Thanks to Neil O'Donnell.
And then he signed a big deal with the Raiders.
Exactly.
Yep.
And what happened?
Not much.
Hey, listen, you have that one shining moment, so to speak. You'd have a big game in a Super Bowl with a couple of picks.
Yep.
You're going to get paid if you're a free agent.
Exactly.
So anyway, it was
Good
a
for
lot
you.
of fun. And what do you mean play the nobody cares drop? Nobody cares about what?
About what holes he's playing.
Who, Harry?
Yeah.
No, he's
on
talking about
Instagram.
me.
No, he was talking about Harry not being on Instagram because nobody cares what he's posting on there.
Right.
Now, Courtney Cummings is on Twitter, and she follows me, and she wrote, need some Eagle masks? I can send them for you. And she's a Washington Redskins fan.
Okay.
Courtney.
Now she's an adult film star.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And a
For
friend of the
those
show.
who are not aware.
Exactly. In fact, she's the only woman, or the first woman, that ever bought Robin a lap dance.
Oh, yeah?
In Vegas.
Yes.
We were in a club, and Courtney was there. What was the name of that place? It's one of the... it's
Sapphire Club.
Sapphire in Vegas.
Okay.
You ever go there, Harry?
Yes,
It's
I
an
have.
incredible
I've been there.
establishment.
Yeah.
It's closed right now, though.
Right.
You can just drive by and wave, pretend you're there. Or go out to Portland where they have the drive-through strip clubs.
It actually made an appearance in the show Bosch that I'm watching.
Oh, really?
Sapphire, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah.
Would you like to know my first impression of my first lap dance?
Okay.
I didn't know what to do with my hands. I seriously,
That's true. I have pictures.
I was like, because they're like, it's right there.
Yeah,
and you just...
So Robin and I are sitting there at these tables, and it's not like the girls are, it's like 15 stages, one main stage, and then the other girls walk around, and say hi to everybody, and you sit down. And she came by and she said, "Oh, Robin, let me get you a dance." And the girl that she got to get Robin a dance was her first dance too.
Oh, really?
So, yes.
Everybody's talking last dance. We're talking about the first dance, man.
So
not
it's
the last dance.
Because I'm just like, and I'm looking around like, what do I do with my hand?
You got to work those details out pre-song.
Right. And so I said, I don't know what to do with my hands. Do I leave it on? Like they didn't even have an armrest. So she's, and so I was like,
She's the armrest.
And then I was laughing. I said, I'm sorry. This is my first lap dance. I've never had this happen before. And I don't know. It's awkward. And she leans over and she whispers in my ear and she says, "Don't worry. It's my first time too."
And you know what I said sitting there, Harry?
Jeez.
Vegas, baby, Vegas!
That's what I said. That's what everybody says. You know what I'm saying?
Spearmint Rhino better than the Sapphire? Or?
No, I think Sapphire's better.
Okay.
But again, I'm not a connoisseur.
Okay.
I'm not a regular. I don't go to strip clubs all the time. Only when Robin's with me, because there's nothing better than walking into an adult establishment with a woman. You want to talk about good. That's a tip for all you guys. If they ever open up again, and maybe they'll be closed forever. Maybe we'll never have gentlemen's clubs ever again.
Maybe Jay Mariotti
should write a column, exactly.
Are you saying that every man needs a good wingman woman?
Yes. Much better walking into an adult establishment with a woman than another dude, Harry.
Yeah, that goes without
Unless
saying.
the other dude you're walking in with has a fistful of 50s, and he can take care of some action for you.
Honeys.
You need more than that.
No, I'm talking about just, for tips.
Oh, okay.
I don't mean, to go home. What's the matter with you, Harry?
Well,
this isn't that kind of show.
That's what I'm still talking about. You need more than that for tips.
A fistful of 50s?
Yeah. Yes.
Really, Harry?
Yes.
Obviously, you guys are not going in the same kind of
champagne
establishment.
room, you'll be out in 10
I don't
minutes.
go in the champagne room. Meanwhile, let's get it back to sports here, Harry. What's the matter with you? Another NFL note. Did you see? How about the Jets? How about Joe Douglas, the GM of the New York Jetropolitans, Harry? Logan Ryan apparently is going to sign a one-year deal with the Jets.
Okay.
Remember, of course, 2 Super Bowl rings with the Patriots, went to Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's been a good player.
He has.
Local kid from Jersey, right?
Right.
Isn't he from he went to Rutgers? We know that. I think he's from Berlin, New Jersey, down in that area.
Okay, the Patriots have taken a lot of guys out of Rutgers over the years.
Yeah, and Logan Ryan, 17 interceptions, 11 career sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Great with the Patriots, and he can play. And the Jets are going to use him as a multiple. They want to use him at safety, but he can play multiple positions in the defensive backfield.
It's a good pickup.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
And he says that the reason. He said that the Tennessee Titans told him they didn't want to give him $10 million for 1 year, so he moved on, and now the Jets doing a good job quietly rebuilding that team. Joe Douglas, who was with the Eagles for a while, has gone up there, and he's done some bold moves there.
He's been with the Bears and the Ravens before that. I mean, he's paid his dues, and now he's getting a chance to do it all for himself.
So now you look at that AFC East with the Patriots, supposedly not as great. I mean, you lose Tom Brady. I don't care how good Jarrett Stidham's going to be. He's not Tom Brady.
No.
And so now you got an AFC East that's up for grabs.
Well, Buffalo's going to be pretty good.
Buffalo, we know they're going to. Miami should be markedly better.
Miami should be a lot better.
The Jets should be better, right? And I know the Jets need another offensive lineman. They're talking about everybody wants that the one big offense, Larry Warford. They want him because when you're looking at your team and you want to protect your quarterback, you're looking at the offensive line, and I think that's what the Jets are looking at next. But there's still going to be some guys cut, and there'll be offensive linemen cut. And I'm sure everybody wants their teams to do something the same day, but that's not how it works. Well, that's not how any of this works.
Jason Peters is still available.
Exactly, and he wants to play. And so that there's a lot of decisions still to be made. There's a lot of guys out there still looking for work, and there is no work. But sooner or later, the NFL will get back to work with at least some OTAs or maybe some training camp if things get better. Except in California, we now know that the Rams and the Chargers pretty much should forget about playing football this year. At least the home games. Maybe they'll have to go on the road to play all their games. They got that brand new stadium. And again, the story is not – the governor has not decreed that the shutdown is going to take 3 more months.
No, the quote was not from Newsom. It was from
Exactly. And here's the problem with, again, people on Twitter who don't understand how to read a story. The story isn't that L.A.'s been locked down for another 3 months. The story is that the L.A. County Public Health Commissioner recommended that if things don't get better, we could be in a lockdown for another 3 months. So now you look everywhere, and they're, L.A.'s being locked down till August. That's not what happened. She's recommending that if things don't get better, it should be locked down till August. And we'll see whether the governor agrees.
So now getting back to the Jets.
Yes.
Their win total is 6.5 for this season.
Are
you bullish on them enough to go over?
Absolutely. I would go over. I think that at worst they're going to go 7-9.
7-9. That cashes you.
That division is going to be more competitive than in recent years. Miami's going to be pretty solid.
Their win total 6.
I'm going to have to sit down with the Philly Godfather and start crunching some numbers and throwing down some fistfuls of 50s to get some action. Because we have a lot of sports, Harry, and if there's sports and there's lines, you know what happens.
You start firing.
We got action, Much more action coming up in the next hour. Sean Salisbury and Adnan Virk still ahead. So stick around. We'll talk some baseball, more football later with Sean. It's Tony and Harry. Let's get it back to the Jets. Yeah, he's great. He's always good.
All righty.
Aikman's first time back in town as an announcer in Philadelphia. They chanted, Aikman sucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to post Adnan Virk with his new beard.
Who, Troy?
No, Adnan Virk.
Oh, I didn't ask Troy if he was clean. That's the one thing I wanted to get to him.
Oh, if he was clean shaven or not, or if he's going.
He's going rogue?
I don't know if I've ever seen a picture with him with a beard.
I don't think Troy grew one out.
He always is clean shaven, isn't he?
Looks like a terrorist.
I know.
I know, he really
That's what
does.
I said. Can I tell him that? Okay, I'm going to put 2 different photographs of him up there. One is the non-terrorist look. Wait, what was that? Hold on a second. Is there another word that sounds a little bit less Negative than terrorist.
No, terrorist is pretty hardcore. Yeah, that's pretty hardcore, Rob.
I know.
What a great show. What a great show. Cowboys and Jets talk. Let's get it back to the Eagles, Harry.
Yeah.
What running back should the Eagles go sign as a backup?
Hyde.
Marcus Hyde?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks.
Don't be disrespecting Adnan.
I'm not. I'm just commenting.
Troy liked it. He likes the outrage line. And you're the one who said it, right, Harry, in the background? And then he
Yeah. I didn't know he heard it until he.
GoSleeves.com, discount code radio.
Did you see that somebody took a close-up picture of one of the press people at the White House press briefing? It looked like he had his girlfriend's panties on his face.
Yeah, I did. I saw it.
What?
His mask.
Somebody has a mask that looks like a pair of women's panties.
It could be a woman's bra. A lot of people were making.
No, this isn't a woman's
No?
bra. I don't think so. I don't think it's a woman's panties either. It just looks that way.
Is it lacy?
I'll have to find the picture of it. It was just on my feed. It's hard. That's what's bad about Twitter. You have to go back and try to find it.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I favorite things. I like things just so I can find
Yeah,
them.
that's what I do too.
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
Back on the scene with the sports talk radio without very much sports machine. Not the George Michael sports machine. Great show, great friend back in the day, Harry.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. We were talking with Troy Aikman last hour about things that a lot of younger people don't remember, like the 96 Super Bowl with the Cowboys. Somebody tweeted last week, if you were born before this date, you weren't old enough to see the, you could say the same thing about the Sixers that hadn't won since 83. The Knicks fans, 1973.
Right.
You could say, hey, if you weren't born before, because 1973 is what, 47 years ago?
Yep.
47. So if you're under the age of 55, you probably don't remember the Knicks 73 championship.
I mean, I turned 55 in June. Now, I remember that team. Like, I
Right.
started watching basketball.
Because you were young, but you're like 7, 8. A lot
Right.
of, a lot of kids, they get impressionable by seeing sporting events, at age 7, 8. Nowadays, kids are more sharp because they can get stuff everywhere on the internet.
It wasn't like that.
Yeah,
for-
back in the
for
day,
us.
you didn't even have a lot of live games. The NBA championship games weren't even televised.
They were tape delayed.
I had to walk to school. 2 miles.
Uphills, both
uphill,
ways?
Both ways, Harry.
Right.
With no shoes.
With no shoes. No shirt and no service. But anyway, I digress. So, baseball right now is really concerning me, Harry, because it looked good, and then it looked bad.
Well, the thing, 82 games, I'm good with that. I'm good with a universal DH. I've wanted a universal DH for years.
Not me.
Yeah,
I hate the DH.
It's just I can't stand when my team has 2 men on and 2 out, and here comes the pitcher, and the inning's
And he
over.
slaps a ball in the gap
it
against
hardly
the
ever
shift. Harry,
happens.
come on, man.
Hardly ever happens.
What's the matter with
It's
you?
a rally killer. 30-man rosters, I'm good with that. Taxi squads, the 50-50 revenue split. Look, I don't care who makes what. They're typically around 50-50 anyway. The problem is you're talking about 50-50 from a much smaller pool because there's no fans in the stands.
Bingo. We'll talk with Adnan
Yeah.
Virk about that. He's going to join us here in a couple minutes. Meanwhile, we talked some football with Troy Aikman. But speaking of the NBA, which we were just talking about, you know what today's anniversary is, Harry? A lot of things on this date.
There's actually 2 that come to mind.
Well, the one is most recent. One was a year ago today. On this date, where were you on May 12th, 2019, Harry, before the world went to hell?
I was in my lair watching as everybody else was on my big screen TV.
And depending on where you are, it could have been a man cave if you're one of those man cave kind of people.
Right.
But on this date, Harry, I remember watching it vividly. 76ers and your Toronto Raptors with Kawhi Leonard. Everybody knew he had to be the guy you had to stop. Sixers were competitive. It was a great series. Right here, Wells Fargo Center. Clock winding down. And for the first time in Eastern Conference playoff history. This was the semifinals. We had a buzzer beater. You know, people talk about buzzer beaters. You know how rare they are in playoff games?
It's very rare.
And especially one that decides the series.
Yeah, I think it's more. It happens more in college basketball
Absolutely.
than it does in the NBA.
So let's go back 1 year ago today. Clock is winding down. You got Kawhi Leonard working his way into the corner. He's got Joel Embiid pretty much all over him. Ben Simmons close by, and then this happened.
It's off to Leonard, defended by Simmons. Is this the dagger?
The great. You know who that is, don't
Kevin
you?
Harlan, man.
Kevin Harlan.
Yeah.
My man, Kevin Harlan.
Yeah.
With the 4-bouncer. Not only was it just an unbelievable heave, and it was a rainbow that was going up from the corner as he's falling away off balance.
Incredible.
Then it hits the ring and bounces 4 total times before it goes down into the cylinder.
It seemed like an eternity. That
It really
ball
did.
hung on the rim like that. And a lot of people, Sixers fans were all, of course, we were massively disappointed, but few realize, like, he misses that shot, you still got to go to OT.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
Right?
No, that was the dagger. That was the real dagger because it ended it all right there. That was almost as big a dagger as sports ending on March 13th this year for everybody because everybody was shut down on March 13th. But that game and the great Kevin Harlan with the call. Was that Reggie Miller screaming? I forget who was doing who was with him that game.
Might have been Reggie. Harlan's so great.
Oh, he's the best. We got to get him on the show again, man. You know, he and I have a mutual admiration society too, Harry.
Well, we had him on week 1, didn't we?
No, he wasn't able to come on at the time because he was told to lay low and not do any shows right at that moment.
Is
so
that
I can
right?
try calling him again and see if they have.
We got to get him on again.
If they have allowed him out of lockdown.
No, he's allowed out. He'll have special permission.
Special dispensation.
He didn't last time. So.
Just tell him Tony called.
Oh, he's like, you know me, Tony or Robin. I would go in and do anything for Tony, but they're telling me no shows, no interviews, no nothing right now.
It's an outrage. Just tell him Tony called. In fact, make a call. Put a call into him. We'll get him on soon. Because I just love talking sports with him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's great at NBA. He's great in football. I mean,
yeah.
he's just one of the best in the business. And he's been for a long, long time. And he does the Fanatics commercials and sells a lot of T-shirts for the Sixers owner, Michael Rubin. You know what I'm saying? Adnan Virk's going to join us now. We mentioned some of the other stuff going on. The other thing that happened on this date, Harry, let's go way back into time. 1985, Robin. You know what happened on this date in 1985? We talk about sports fixes and point spread scandals and Black Sox scandals. One of the biggest events in sports that to this day, now how many years is that? 25 years? 85,
No.
95, 2005, 2005. That is 35 years ago.
Yeah.
35 years ago on this date, in a cheesy setup in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York City.
Which is a great hotel.
Oh,
it was a great
yeah.
hotel, but yeah.
They had this like big, it looked like a little satellite ball. It looked like a ball, not
Yeah,
like your
see-through, like a see-through
It was
ball.
a big ball, and the ball looked amazing, and they had a top, the lid that came off, and then they brought in, I believe it was 7 envelopes.
And they were kind of big square envelopes.
Yeah, they were like 12 by 12 envelopes that were hermetically sealed on Funkin' Wagner's porch overnight. And then Johnny Carson came out and divined. No, he didn't. Then the commissioner at the time,
David Stern,
early in his reign as the new NBA commissioner, comes out. They spin the thing 6 times. Pat O'Brien was doing the play-by-play
He
on
was.
CBS at the time.
Yeah, and Stern's turning this thing, right? And the envelopes are sort of sticking to the side, and then they just fall.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like they weren't really getting jostled
It's
around.
not like ping pong balls at
Right.
the lottery. It's not like most. It's not like bingo. I mean, there's 7 envelopes.
And they're heavy. They're kind of heavy.
And here's the amazing part, because if you watch closely, like the Zapruder film, which I did multiple times
Yeah, you
today.
broke it down frame by frame.
I'm looking at the envelopes, and I'm seeing, the envelopes are putting in one at a time. They're pretty much stacked on top of one another at the bottom of this cylinder, this big ball. Then they close the top, and the commissioner spins it 6 times like a record. And then they play a little Dead or Alive in the background, even though that song hadn't been recorded yet. You following me here, Harris? So one of the envelopes gets put in, and it's not stacked on top like the rest of them.
No, it's kind of pushed to the side.
Yeah, the guy who's stacking the envelopes is putting them one on top of the other, and then the last 2 envelopes, one of them he puts up on the side, and the second one is right beneath it. So they close the door, and if you look carefully, one of those 2 envelopes, the side, the top, you know how the corner is a little bend in it. So then they turn it around, they flip around, and then David Stern reaches in, and you watch his face. He sort of like breathes deeply as he reaches in and feels around for the frozen envelope, Harry, and he pulls it out, and the rest is history.
The second pick in the 1985 NBA draft goes to the Indiana Pacers.
The horseshoe worked. Basketball is back in New York City, my friends.
First pick in the 1985 NBA college draft.
There, that's David Stern then saying the Knicks have it. Dave the Busher went up there.
Former Knick great.
The crowd went wild, and David Stern had pulled off one of the biggest. This is a bigger. Now, do you believe to this day that it was a rigged?
Yeah, I do.
Lottery?
Yeah, I do.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because you know why? The New York Knicks, they needed something.
Sure.
And back then, the NBA cared about the top markets. They wanted the Knicks and the Sixers and the Celtics and the Lakers to all be good. And even though the Bulls, that was before Jordan, you know, there were the glamour franchises.
Well, he was there. He was in Chicago then.
Yeah.
But he was like very young.
Absolutely. But the point is, they needed New York, and the draft's in New York, and it's the Waldorf Astoria, and the commissioner has the envelope. And then since then, they don't show the envelopes anymore because they don't even do that.
Well,
same
they don't
system.
do envelopes anymore.
They do stupid ping pong balls in a back room somewhere, a smoke-filled room.
And now don't they bring the media in? There's select media that get access to that whole
to watch
process.
over it.
Yeah, it's
to
a scam.
watch over it. And
it's even a bigger
there's
scam
an accounting
now.
firm guy there and all this
Exactly.
stuff. But like you remember who got second? Indiana. Do you remember
Yeah,
the look on their representative? I don't know if it was their GM or who he was. He was massively disappointed.
Because that's how they did it. They did it they counted it back like Casey Kasem would do, count it backwards.
Right.
And then once the Pacers got the number 2 pick, that's what everybody
knew. The Knicks.
So basically, the drama was gone because Stern didn't even. Everybody knew the Knicks got the number 1 pick once the Pacers were the number 2.
And the number 2 pick was Wayman Tisdale.
The
Indiana Pacers.
A great player and also a great bassist.
Right.
Multiple Grammy Award-winning artist, and we lost him a few years back. And by the way, even though Patrick Ewing was there, you know what happened in his career? Michael Jordan got in the way too.
Yeah.
Because he was great, and the Knicks were a really, really, really good team in that era.
Well, and Elijah won too.
And you had
they
Hakeem
met them
in
in the
Houston.
finals. This is Wayman Tisdale.
Give me a little Wayman Tisdale. Plucking on that bass.
It's got a good groove to it, man.
Listen, that's what I love about plucking basses. Because, bass is normally background. But when you lead with the bass.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm playing a little bass right now, ladies and gentlemen. Not Ashley Tisdale, no.
You know who was a great lead bassist?
Who?
John Entwistle from The Who.
That's
that
good
guy
knowledge right
played
there. That is good
riffs
bass
the entire
knowledge.
song.
Tony, who was the player that came in studio when I first started working with you? Was that wasn't Tisdale, was it?
No, Wayman Tisdale was on when I was on Mornings with Andrew back in the day.
There was
LA.
another.
Was it Bernie Williams playing the guitar?
Bernie Williams has been in studio.
Yeah.
Great. He plays acoustic guitar and electric guitar. You know what I'm saying? Spanish guitar too. Hey? You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, you know who's going to join us next? The great Adnan Virk. And I got something to ask him. Because unlike Troy Aikman, he is basically slumming it right now, like pretty much everybody.
Well, kind of like you, Tony.
Yeah, exactly.
Although you are a little bit more trim than Adnan right now,
Yeah,
if that is a current photograph.
He's going to join us next. We're going to talk some baseball because he's at the MLB Network now. And what are they doing? Other than re-airing games and trying to figure out. Now, of course, he got these negotiations going on. So a lot of ears on the MLB talks between the Players Association and the union. The owners yesterday said, yeah, we got this plan. Let's do it, boys. Come on. And then something went terribly, terribly wrong. You know what that's called, Harry? Negotiations. That's what went wrong. Everybody thought, oh, yeah, the player's going to want to play. They're going to jump on this. And as the great ESPN college football guru would say, not so fast, my friends. You know what I'm talking about, Harry?
Talking about the coach, Corso?
Lee Corso is the correct answer.
You need a pencil when you say that,
exactly.
too.
Not so fast. Adnan Virk from the Major League Baseball Network. We call MLB because we're tight. He's coming up next with Tony and Harry. Stick around.
Oh, that was fun. So the link that you sent me did not work.
Oh, so you found the YouTube thing?
No, so I clicked on it and it says file corrupt, no access, or whatever.
Because
So
I played it before I sent it to you on my computer.
But you obviously, when you sent it to me,
I corrupted it?
You didn't send me the entire URL.
How did I corrupt it?
I don't know, Tony.
I usually just corrupt women, not files.
So I had to search for it really, really quick. I was able to find it.
Well, at least I gave you a lot of time and a big
Yeah,
lead. Good job. That's a good job out of you.
You guys did a great job vamping.
Now, Miss Sinelli's dryer says that he's currently the high bidder on your porno VHS crate.
Sweet.
That's being sold to clear out your storage
That is not
unit.
true. That is no longer in storage, Harry.
Is that right?
I think we gave away the last of the quantity, as they say on the Home Shopping Network.
That is not true, Tony.
I thought I only saved select autographed and special
did.
edition ones.
You have a special box. It's no longer Robin's box. It's Tony's box upstairs. That is your special edition box.
But I had crates. I had a whole garage full of boxes.
You did.
I gave them away.
Didn't you ever see photographs of when we were leaving, coming to Philadelphia? We had a big garage sale
No.
to get rid of all sorts of stuff, and we realized that you know when you're having a garage sale or a yard sale, there's families that come by.
Sure.
So we couldn't
And
put.
they're all looking at the porn.
We couldn't put
No,
the
what
boxes.
we did like they did at West Coast, but we had like a curtain in the back of the
We
garage.
did.
Nice.
We literally did.
And then we had a sign up at the front saying, please ask about our adult videos. You cannot imagine. There were people that like asked about it. They went behind the curtain and then they came back with friends.
Oh, my God.
They're like, oh my gosh, your collection is amazing.
Wow.
That was pretty funny.
You've got Jenna Jameson's rookie card.
Exactly right. She follows me on Twitter. You know.
Does she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, did we ever tell you about the other time? My daughter and her girlfriends came over. They were still in high school. They were like sophomores.
Mm-hmm.
And they came over to visit. And it was how many of them? Like 5 of them?
Yeah.
And they were staying, they were going down the beach and all that. Tony had what I called the Porn of the Month Club because Vivid would just send him stuff all the time.
Right.
In big boxes, whatever they came. And so he had all these that were still sealed. He'd never opened them up. They were just, and the collection kept growing and growing and growing. And I didn't find out until last year when my daughter, who is now 25, and her girlfriends were over. She told us the story about how they found the boxes, and they took, between the 5 of them, they took probably about 100 videos and made money off of selling them to all of her friends back in Arizona.
Oh, my God.
They made hundreds of dollars.
I helped the disadvantaged youth.
Wow.
They
find a way
made
through
hundreds
schools.
of dollars sending it to sex-starved teenies, teeny boppers, young boys probably. Unbelievable. But then I had to give it to her. I'm like, that was probably a pretty damn good job out of you. We didn't even know they were missing.
Yeah, this is my favorite picture of the week.
Yeah.
The Titans' former president Underwood, not Blair Underwood. You know who was drafted the 17th selection in the 1985 NBA draft?
Uwe Blob?
Yes, you are correct, sir. To the Dallas
Blob?
Mavericks.
There was somebody named Blob?
B-L-A-B.
Uwe Blab. He was German.
Oh, Blob.
U-W-E-B-L-A-B.
Wait, say that again?
U-W-E was his first name.
Okay.
And Blab, B-L-A-B.
That does not sound like a German name.
Is sex-starved teeny like a dry martini asking for a friend?
Yes. It's quite delicious.
And not Underwood deviled ham, because I hate that stuff.
By the way, a text from Troy Aikman just said,
Stand by, guys.
Tony's awesome. I love him.
I got something on this Underwood guy.
A picture of him?
No.
No, we're not talking about him.
I got quotes. It's pretty funny.
The guy with the beard, with the mustache, and the.
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
We try to keep you up to date, informed, amused, entertained, titillated, whatever you need.
Titillated?
To make it through. Well, that's why Robin's here. She gave you the, remember the popsicle story yesterday?
That kind of grossed me out, actually.
Hey, it's women. She does the women's stories so that people can't accuse us
of being
sexist
dirty old
pigs.
men.
Exactly.
See?
Anytime you can take some other way of people to rip you because they claim that you're doing something that's offensive to women, you always let the woman do the story that's offensive to woman. I figured that out 10 years ago when Robin and I started working together.
That's genius.
Do we have the great, a man who I've known a while, but I opened up his Twitter feed today, and I said, damn, you talk about a man in isolation and self-distancing and doing everything else, but certainly not shaving. I'm not shaving, Harry. I look pretty raggedy right now. But this man, Adnan Virk of the MLB Network. Adnan, what the hell is going on in your house, man?
Tony, great to be reunited, my friend. The key is this. We live in a profession where so often you're wrapped up in your own vanity and self-absorption, and everything is about hair and teeth. So when you have a situation like this, an unprecedented one, a quarantine, a pandemic, no one's going to work, everyone's working from home, I said, okay, let's indulge ourselves in some self-loathing. Let's look about as unappealing as possible, and let's just let it go. And I shared that with the entire world. There's gray everywhere. It's hairy. It's unkempt. I want people to look at me and go, oh, my God, what's happened to him? And clearly, that was your reaction.
Yeah, and I know you, so I mean, I look at me. I mean, if I don't shave for a week, I look like a hermit. But you, I mean, that's, I wouldn't say scary, but have you been to an airport lately? That's what I want to ask.
I have not. I will clean myself up before I have to go, fly somewhere. I've definitely, at least I've been hygienic. I mean, I'm definitely showering every day and cleaning my clothes and all that kind of stuff. But the physical experience, I look like a visual nightmare. People have been ranging from DiCaprio in The Revenant to Tom Hanks in Castaway. I adore Pacino, as you know, so I want to get that Pacino Serpico look. So I've still got some work to do.
Now, how long since you've shaved then?
March 6th was the last day shaved. I was on air for NHL Network, and I said, okay, let's go 2 months. So 2 months. It's unbelievable.
So you kept a no-shave November thing going all the way into May.
I want to keep it going until literally I have to go back to work. Like, I hope that Major League Baseball will resume this summer, and then I'll be able to have a 4-month beard that I will. I don't know if I can actually have the guts to do it on the air. I'll probably just post a picture the day before and then shave. Although, the idea I'd love to do is this. I mean, if I really have any guts, I'd do this. I would shave half my face and then go to work and then just insist that the camera only get me in certain shots. So like a profile shot, and people would think I haven't shaved, and just screw with people the entire show. I don't have that kind of clout, but I'd love to do that.
Well, Adnan, based on Dr. Fauci's latest, you're going to look like Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top.
Oh, that is great ZZ Top knowledge there, Harry.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could be pretty scary. You're right. I mean, what's crazy with all these different permutations and ideas is that nobody knows anything, right? Like, it's so hard for people to go, are we going to have baseball? Are we going to have basketball? Are we going to have hockey? I have no idea. Like, I'm just going to, just let me know, right? Give me the bat signal and tell me I'm going back to work, and I'll be there in a moment's notice.
The great Adnan Virk, MLB Network. He mentioned he does some other stuff, too. And so where are you holed up now? Are you in what part of the country?
Yeah, we've moved from central Connecticut to now North Jersey, so we're just outside the epicenter, about 18 miles from Manhattan. We're in Bergen County, where a lot of people work in New York. A lot of New Yorkers reside. So I actually never have to go to New York City. MLB Network, AHL Network is in Secaucus.
Right. Secaucus.
So that's where we...
No,
yeah, exactly.
It's Secaucus.
Yes, you're right. Secaucus, as the locals tell me. The first time, by the way, I ever heard of Secaucus, by the way, was Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Yeah.
Remember the very famous "What Do You Think I'm Funny" scene? The scene starts by him saying, "I'm going to visit my cousin in Secaucus," and then he goes through the whole story, and then the whole what am I funny with Henry Hill, which is so good. But yeah, I'm never actually in the city, but here in North Jersey, obviously we've been hit hard. So we just barely leave the house, man. Me and my kids, we play catch outside, we throw a football around, and that's about it.
Now, you know what everybody else knows, but you'll know a little bit more because you work there and you hear news every day. And so yesterday when the owners said, yeah, we like this, we can get this thing started, let's talk about another spring training, couple of weeks in June, and then 4th of July weekend, boom, baseball's back, and then the players get it, and then their association's like, well, not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say, and I always have to use that to commemorate the great Lee Corso. So we're now going to be in this situation where we know it's always going to be about money, and now this thing's going to be bogged down for a couple of weeks. And I figured it out this morning. We really have 2.5 weeks to get this thing done, or it's going to be pretty much, that's going to be the absolute drop-dead date to get any way, shape, or form a little spring training thing started by June 10th, which is what would be needed to be happening before they actually could play on the 4th of July, right?
No question. We got to put the cart before the horse. My dad texted me right away. He goes, oh, great, baseball's back. I'm like, hang on a second. Exactly what he said, invoking the great Lee Corso. Let's just slow our roll here because, life's a negotiation. It's give and take. Jimmy Hoffa said that years ago. And so we all know the owners are going to give their first offer. The players are going to counter propose, and we'll go from there. The reason I have optimism is Jeff Passan, who does a great job, obviously covering baseball for ESPN, has said, listen, there's incentive on both sides. There's three things that drive anything right now, particularly for Major League Baseball. There's money, there's politics, and there's incentive. So politically speaking, one of the ideas they had was about being in Arizona or Florida or Texas, all GOP governors, all states that were very clearly willing to get going with the economy, whatever your opinion on that is, that was definitely in the favor of baseball. Mitch McConnell's calling Mr. Manfred and saying, listen, anything you need from me, let me know. Let's do this. Money, as you point out, the players haven't been paid. That's been my whole thing with basketball and hockey. I don't know if they come back. With baseball, all these guys got a little bit of money split apart in April. Other than that, it's easy to say, oh, Mike Trout makes $30 million or Clayton Kershaw makes this. A lot of these guys are, 25, 26, and I don't want to necessarily live and paycheck to paycheck, the average American, but they're not thinking about retirement. They're not thinking about things, and they were not expecting, if you've been playing 4 or 5 years in the majors, oh, wait, I may not get a check for an entire year. I've got 2 cars, a couple of houses, whatever. So I think a lot of guys have the incentive to go back to work because of the money. I don't want to say they need the money, but they would like to have the money, of course. And then it gets down to urgency and incentive. Now, on an altruistic level, I'm sure Major League Baseball would like to say, hey, years from now, isn't it nice we went through this horrific chapter in American history, and we were able to come back and really try to, in some ways, as phony, as sentimental as it sounds, heal the nation, bring people together, et cetera. But ultimately, like what you said is, it's got to work for both sides. And so the players, Tony Clark was very clear in saying, hey, listen, we're not going to go with this. This is a salary cap, in our opinion. We got to go back to the table and figure it out. But what Jeff Passan's article said in ESPN was this: it would be a real shame if this didn't happen because of money. And you've already turned people off before. There's still a ton of fans, Tony, as you and I know. I'm from Canada. I have a ton of Montreal Expos fans who swore off baseball forever after what happened in 1994. So do I really think that the players and the owners would say, listen, do we really want to alienate the fans again by saying we had the go-ahead from Dr. Fauci's people, we had a plan in place, governors were on board, et cetera, and we couldn't do it because of money? That'd be an awfully, awfully bitter pill to swallow. So you're right. June 10th was the idea. We still got a little bit of time to play with, but I would be cautiously optimistic at this point in time.
Hey, Adnan, what kind of cues are they taking from what's going on over in South Korea and Taiwan right now with their baseball?
Yeah, I think they definitely looked at that situation and said, okay, listen, it is doable. Like for the people who are doomsdayers saying, no, they could never do it. Well, no, they could do it. Clearly, there are countries that are doing it. In South Korea, if you look at what happened with America, very similar in terms of when the cases came, but they were able to shut things down. Of course, we have not been able to do so. But I was watching the game tonight. I was laughing at the cardboard cutouts. I mean, it's funny to look at. For those who haven't seen it, Carl Ravitch, Eddie Perez were calling the game on ESPN in remote locations, which, by the way, we could have this year. Mm-hmm. Joe Buck could be calling the game in St. Louis. Doesn't have to be wherever the game is. That's one way to eliminate TV crews, et cetera. But Carl and Eddie are calling the games. Carl lives in Connecticut. Eddie lives in Florida. And they had literally cardboard cutouts in the fans. Rather than empty seats, you had cardboard cutouts. It looks hilarious. But you're like, okay, fine. So I think, baseball can look at that and say, hey, if at some point, I think we're going to come back with no fans initially. I think everybody agrees with that. But later on, could you social distance, and rather than 40,000 at Yankee Stadium, could you have 8,000? Is that at least doable with masks, with gloves, and you section off the seats and it's 6 feet apart? Can you do that? Maybe, maybe not. The big thing, I think, that doesn't matter if you're looking at Korea or Taiwan or whatever, but Major League Baseball is willing to try new things. Right? This idea about the universal DH, why not? Let's go playoff teams from 10 to 14. That'll increase playoff revenue. Why not? In terms of the schedule, I don't know how many people have looked at this, but there'd be a lot more reduced travel. They would like to have literally teams just playing in their geography, right? So AL Central's playing NL Central. It's wherever you are closest to, that's how the schedule is going to look. Let's reduce air travel. There's no Yankees-Dodgers games that are going to happen this year. If anything, try to have games that you can bus to each other's locations. So have a lot of Mets and Yankees and Mets and Phillies and teams that are close together, the Nationals, et cetera. So I like the fact baseball said, listen, let's try things. Let's try to make it as advantageous as possible. And the good news is with Korea and Taiwan, listen, the games are happening, whether or not people were expecting them to or not.
Yeah, we had our buddy Boog Shambi on last week getting ready for his first game, remotely. And he's done games remotely. And a lot of soccer games that you see on American television are done by a guy sitting in a studio somewhere in the Northeast United States, and the game's being played in Turkey. That's how it happens.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I think people are always surprised by that, Tony. I've called a handful of college basketball games when I was at ESPN, and I literally was in a studio in Bristol. I said, this is going to be so tough to generate the atmosphere. But, of course, you can do it. You just look at the monitor, and you can follow your stats, and you're playing off somebody else. You got a smart producer in your ear telling you what to do. There's no question television-wise it's going to look different. But that's obviously one of the biggest reasons to do this. Tom Verducci, my colleague at MLB Network and, of course, Sports Illustrated, was pointing out the fact that you get 35 to 40% of revenue from, concession stands and parking, et cetera. So with that out of the pie, you're doing this for TV, but there's no reason to doubt that TV numbers would be huge. Look at the numbers The Last Dance has been getting. You're just bathing in nostalgia from 22 years ago. People can't get enough of it. They're just so desperate to actually get some content on TV. People were watching UFC who are not mixed martial arts fans. I'm going to be watching NASCAR. I could do the left turn all day, and I'm like, all right, fine. I'll watch it. Any sort of sports we can get. Soccer and the EPL could be mid-June. If you just get baseball back, those TV numbers are going to be robust.
Adnan Virk, whose sports knowledge, hockey and baseball knowledge is only surpassed by his
movie
knowledge.
Yeah,
your movie. You should have. Have you done any podcasts like? I know you're big on movie, and I know you do some shows. Are you doing anything regularly?
I have a Cinephile podcast, which is on Apple Podcasts, CINEPHILE. You can subscribe, rate, and review. It's so funny. My whole life, I never wanted to deal with anything that was actually concrete and important. I only had two interests ever, and those were, of course, sports and movies. And somehow I've made a way to actually make a living in both. I feel like I'm a miracle unto myself that this habit of watching movies and watching sports has actually generated income. It's the best.
You like the mob movies, though. See, I was never a big mob movie guy, but you're a big mob movie guy.
I am. Huge mob movie guy. The way that started was, my mom said, let's watch a movie, but she never said, she goes, I want to watch something without any violence or nudity or swearing. I said, oh, my God, how the hell am I going to find that? So we'd go watch old movies together. And so very quickly, she didn't care about subject matter. She just didn't want to have that stuff in there. So I said, okay, let me find something tolerable. Okay, fine. I can watch The Public Enemy. I can watch Maltese Falcon. So I got big into Bogart and Cagney, and I loved all their movies. And naturally, as you guys know this with sports, I love Al Pacino. It's the first time I saw an Al Pacino movie. I believe Carlito's Way is the first one I saw. Then you go, okay, I got to watch everything this guy's ever made. So you go back and you watch The Godfather, et cetera. Then you read, Pacino's influenced by Brando. Let me go watch everything Brando's ever made. So it's just like with sports. You say, okay, this athlete reminds you of Willie Mays, or who's Willie Mays? You're looking up and read about it. Same thing with movies. Those mob movies had a big appeal for me. And, of course, Goodfellas. I think Goodfellas is the most eminently watchable movie ever. I have been shocked and aghast that there are people who have tweeted me saying they've never seen Goodfellas. And I said, please, even to your point, if you're not a mob movie fan, I think Goodfellas transcends the genre.
Carlito Briganti. It's a fantastic movie.
By the way, great beard in that movie.
Oh, incredible. Just incredible.
That's a good-looking, manicured beard, playing a Hispanic guy. With Carlito's Way, two incredible sequences. One in the pool hall, where he's dancing around with a trick shot, knowing he's in serious trouble. And two, and that's De Palma at his best, the last 10 minutes. Sometimes De Palma is not great with dialogue, and it gets a bit clunky, but you just give him a camera and a bunch of atmosphere and go. And when Pacino is being chased through Grand Central Station, that final 15 minutes of Carlito's Way is spectacular.
And Sean Penn is just outstanding in that flick.
That's a great point. As much as I love Al,
the
guy who probably steals the movie is Sean Penn. He is so funny as Davey Kleinfeld. He's got the fro and the coke habit and the glasses. He's clearly having a lot of fun playing a guy who is just a nerdy lawyer who's now a wannabe gangster. He's hilarious in that movie.
Now, we have a lot of people watching on Twitch, and one of our friends, Beach Babe, that's not a real name, She has some ideas for baseball without fans, because there's going to be foul balls hit if they do play. And then just get a bunch of shelter dogs to go chase the balls and bring them down and do some sort of a charity event, right? And now, would they be worried about the dogs getting COVID? Because apparently some dogs have. I don't think that would be a dangerous situation.
No,
would they?
I don't think so. But I think that would be great. You do a combo mambo. You have the dogs catch the foul balls, and then since people are watching it on TV, it can be an adoption event at the same time.
How much is that doggy in there down the left field line? Watch that doggy. He got it.
Listen, Tony Perez would love it, of course, famously nicknamed Doggy, Eddie Perez's dad. And listen, if that would add some atmosphere, I'll take it. Could you imagine on a critical 3-2 pitch, rather than the stands being erupting with noise, you'd have the dogs start barking. I mean, it would really give new meaning to Dog Day afternoon. I would just pray for having a bunch of afternoon baseball games, and the dogs would be having a blast.
Now, of course, now people, because there's local radio guys who do Goodfellas questions every day. It's not just about Goodfellas with you. You know all movies. There's only some radio hosts who just talk mob movies all the time. But you're beyond mob movies.
No question about it. I mean, the key I find is that, just like with sports, and I always found this is the key getting into the business. You guys know this, especially if you're doing talk radio. You got to know a little bit about everything, just in case it may pop up. So similar with movies, I always felt like, hey, learn a little bit about everything and make your greatest strength your weakness. So even if it's going to be a little bit painful to watch Jailhouse Rock, we'll do it so that way you can say you've seen an Elvis movie. Even if From Here to Eternity doesn't float your boat, well, you know what? Sinatra's great. You won an Oscar. You'll find some appeal in it. So that's the key for me, is to be able to watch all across all genres. I mean, listen, a few years ago, I thought two of the best movies of the year were Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a gritty crime movie.
Good movie.
Francis McDormand, Sam Rockwell won Oscars, yeah. And then Shape of Water, which I thought was a beautiful film, and people found it very polarized. What is it? It's an alien fish man in love with her, and I thought it was a beautiful film. It was a fantasy. It was an homage to Creature from the Black Lagoon. So I think if you can have an interest in varying movies like that, movies, as Roger Ebert once said, are an empathy-generating machine. Whatever the movie makes you feel like, it shouldn't matter what the genre is. It can be powerful in its own right. So I always love the fact that movies can bring about different emotions in you, no matter what or where they're from.
Well, what kind of stuff are you digging on in Netflix or Amazon or stuff right now?
Well, it's funny because, unfortunately, there hasn't been a lot of new stuff. So what I've done is I've gone back, because everyone's got a few holes in their game. Everybody can always say, okay, what haven't you seen? So I've rectified that with a few big ones. I finally watched Hitchcock's North by Northwest, which is as sensational as everybody will tell you it is. The Cary Grant crop duster scene, obviously, I was well aware of. But now that I've seen the whole movie, James Mason, Martin Landau, that's a terrific Hitchcock movie. I'd never seen De Palma's Carrie, with horrifying scenes. Sissy Spacek, God, the first scene in the shower getting taunted. So now I've seen Carrie. I can knock that off the list.
But they did a remake of that. The remake sucked. That's the one thing about trying to remake Hitchcock classics. The ones they've remade aren't even close to as good as the original.
Oh, to that point, one of the worst movies ever made. And it's funny you mentioned this, because I just recorded Psycho again the other day. I've seen it years ago. I haven't seen it in a while. The remake of Psycho is one of the worst movies ever made. Gus Van Sant, who's a good director, Good Will Hunting, and other films of that ilk.
Vince Vaughn was in that, right? Wasn't Vince Vaughn in there?
Vince Vaughn stars as the Anthony Perkins, Roman Bates type. And there's the worst part about it. It's one thing to make a remake and go, well, I just want people to see this movie and I want to pay homage to Hitchcock. But it was a shot-for-shot remake. What's the point of it? Why don't I just watch the original? Why would I remake this movie to have the exact same thing, at least be inspired by? Just listen, Scorsese with The Departed, that's a remake of Infernal Affairs. But you go, hey, it's a foreign film not a lot of people saw. I'd like to bring it to a wider audience. And boom, The Departed wins Best Picture, etc. In the case of Psycho, you're right, just an abomination that Van Sant did the remake. But, the show that I would recommend, because so many people love binge watching, not that I'm averse to it, but of course, movies are my first love, so I don't watch as much TV. There's exceptions. I love Better Call Saul. I love Barry on HBO. So the show that I watch, and I'm embarrassed it took me so late to watch it, is Succession, which is on HBO.
Oh, yeah.
It is sensational, and I did not realize how good it was. I was aware of it. I know people have talked about it. It won the Golden Globe, and Brian Cox is the star, but it debuted 2 years ago. You know what I found shocking is this. In this age of social media and spoiler alerts, I couldn't believe, my wife and I watched all 20 episodes of Succession over the last 2 weeks and thoroughly enjoyed them, and nobody spoiled them for me. Not once did I know, I already read about this, or somebody told me this happens. That's that's very rare in this day and age that that actually happens. If you took at a show which is an examination of the 1% of the 1%, a Murdoch-type family, and it is just scathing. It's so well written and so caustic.
Oh, I tell you, man, you can tell this man loves him some movies.
I watched the first 2 episodes of that. I didn't really like it, but I've heard it's really good, so I'm going to go back and continue watching it.
Adnan Virk.
This last point of success, because you're right, the first episode is excellent, but episodes 2, 3, and 4 are middling. And my wife was saying, let's punt on this. I don't get it. We're not into it. But after that, it does turn the corner, so it does reward patience. I only say that the second season is like a hit from start to finish. Episodes 1 through 10, you will not be able to get enough of.
Okay.
All right, before we let you go, and I got to get it back to one last baseball question, because you're from Canada, you were talking about Expo fans, and, of course, one of the proposals, which we're not going to see this year, is the Montreal X-Rays. Tampa and the Rays splitting a team. Is that going to work in either city?
I couldn't imagine it happening. I mean, I love the idea that this even could happen. Like, I'd love to have baseball in Montreal again, and I'd love to go wherever they need to go. There are a couple of issues. One of which, of course, logistically. So let's suppose a guy lives in Galveston, Texas. He hangs up there with his wife and kids. Then he goes to spring training and plays half the year in Tampa and then goes to Montreal. I mean, the amount of taxes that you're paying, you're living in 3 different places. Like, I just think logistically, why would a player want to do that? I could see the players being very averse to that, and I'm sure they've already made noise about it. The other part of it is this, is that, what if the team plays better in one area or the other? Like, what if in Tampa, like, they're really good at home, and also they go to Montreal, they stink? Like, as a team, as a fan base, you'd be so annoyed saying, God, once we go to Montreal, our season is going to go in the tank.
Well, I'd love that as a gambler. Yeah.
I was going to say, gambling-wise, it would be funny to figure out, okay, when is it actually home field for these guys? Does it matter? Does it hurt them, et cetera? I just love the jersey idea. I just would love to see a split of the Rays and the Expos and figure out what the heck that is. And listen, if it meant it would start towards having a team full-time back in Montreal, and God, something to replace the Big O, which was such an eyesore, then I'd be in favor of it. But Montreal would have to get a new stadium first. That's the big issue.
No, I agree with you. And, of course, the Shea Paris and then Tampa Bay, Dale Mabry comparisons.
Oh, yeah.
Which city has the best gentlemen's clubs?
Well, I got to go.
Montreal, Shea Paris, or you got to go, Mons Venus in Tampa?
I got to go sample Montreal first to make that.
You've never been to the Shea
No,
Paris, huh?
I've never been to Montreal.
It's an outrage.
Now, Adnan's a Toronto guy, but he sounds like he has love for Montreal. Is that common up there in Canada?
Yeah, it's interesting. I find that generally Canadians are not as territorial. I mean, it's like, listen, I'm from Toronto, I grew up there, but I love Montreal, 6-hour drive, nice to get away. But definitely, I mean, listen, English-French relations have been strained over the years. I find that sometimes it comes more from the other side. The Francophones, the Quebecers may be more resistant to a bunch of Ontario boys showing up in their city. But for Torontonians to love Montreal, I don't think it's an issue.
The great Adnan Virk. You're not getting this kind of breakdown of baseball, hockey, strip clubs, movies. I mean, this is pretty much, you can't have a more complete segment. Part of a nutritious breakfast and all the other sort of things. Adnan, great to talk to you again, brother. Hope everything's all right. And be careful out there, man.
Thanks so much, Tony. You guys as well. I mean, we talked about essential workers. This was an essential conversation. I appreciate you.
Cinephile is the podcast.
Cinephile.
Yeah.
Make sure you put cinephile. Forget the back part. Just worry about the front part. But it's important. Adnan Virk. Coming up, we'll take some calls, too. We haven't opened up the phone lines. 215-462-TONY. 215-462-8669. Are we never going to see sports again? We're coming right back.
Beach Babe 12. Seriously, this is a brilliant idea. Really, really good idea.
Well, Dr. Fauci says no dogs.
Oh, that's BS. That he did not say that.
Adnan can't hook me up. I got hookups in North Jersey already.
Yeah, where to go in Secaucus. Yeah. You know who can hook you up in North Jersey? Phil Simms.
I play at his club.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've got ins there already. I went up there last year. It's fantastic.
He doesn't need Adnan.
I don't need Adnan.
I'm thinking, I know Phil Simms is up there in North Jersey, obviously at a great course.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
No, I could totally see that. The dogs, the animal shelters, they bring a couple of dogs, set them far enough apart so that they're not right on, they're not all together. Each dog has its own section and a handler. Obviously, they can't catch them. They'd have to run after them, but still, I love it. And then you know what else that would be? That would be another betting opportunity.
The dogs? Bet on the dogs?
Bet on the dogs as to...
Pete Rose would be back into that. He loved betting on the dogs.
Whether, which...
Oh, beautiful.
Which dogs go after, which dogs can, get the balls the fastest. And then they would get adopted afterwards. It's awesome. I love it. No fault, Walt. Shave that face, dude. Yeah, he was able to grow a pretty bushy one.
I can get on at Liberty National, Ridgewood. That's all I need.
How about Bethpage Black?
That's Long Island.
I know. Can you get on there?
He can't help me. That's public. That's public.
I know, but it's still tough to get on.
Dean said that dog racing is banned in Florida after 2021. That's good. I'm fine with that.
I know that.
Even though greyhounds like to run, it's not the same as horses.
I played Lancaster Country Club 2 weeks after the Women's Open. The place is awesome.
You know what? Beach Babe 1204 and MP Roach 01, that's a great idea. Keith is who I'm going to call and give that idea to, because he knows everybody everywhere in the both dog and baseball connections. He would love that idea. So if you see it, Beach Babe, coming to your town sometime, it's because of your idea. Just so you know.
How about this shocking story from the Associated Press?
What's that?
The masks are fakes. They don't provide adequate protection, and they're being handed to frontline caregivers. An AP investigation tracks counterfeit medical masks from China being sent to U.S. hospitals.
Hard to believe.
What am I doing? Oh, that's right.
2 on the board, Tone. 2 on the board.
Okay. You know the other one, 2 in the no. What's the other one? No, I wasn't going to go there.
No.
You know which one?
All right, Sean, here is a good picture. I think I might already have a photograph of him, though.
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
You know what else happened on this day in the NBA 12 years ago, Harry? LeBron James put it down on KG Kevin Garnett with no regard for human life. The Kevin Harlan call, remember that?
Nice. Yes.
God.
So that was 12 years ago today?
That was 12 years ago in Boston. That was in Boston. That was up at the Fleet Anima Center, which it was called when they first opened that thing, and it's been changed 52,000 times. Meanwhile, back in the ranch, you see the WWE champ Becky Lynch had to forfeit her belt. She is the first wrestler ever to have to forfeit a belt in wrestling due to pregnancy.
Yeah, pregnancy, right.
She and Seth Rollins are expecting their first child. No word on whether it's a bouncing baby girl or a backflipping boy yet.
Wow.
We'll wait for the decision on that. Let's go to the phones. Let's go out to Northern California, where the girls are warmer because they probably have a fever and they're being told to stay inside. Let's go to Simone up there.
Warmer, all right.
What's going on up there, man?
Bonjour, Tony, Harry,
Bonjour.
Miss Robin. How are you guys, man?
Bonjour, man.
What's going on?
Hey, thanks for. First, I want to say thanks for making Mondays great again. I so look forward to my Mondays now, just because no Tony on the weekends. So I look forward to.
We should
listening
get
to you
hats
guys every
made.
day.
Make Mondays
What-
great again. What color should we make the
there
hats?
you go. Make Monday.
If I make them red, then we'll be attacked walking
Right.
down the street because nobody. I think the Phillies should not play this year because if they walk out and you're wearing a Phillies hat, you're going to get jumped in some cities, Harry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, man.
That's all right. Hey, I want to talk about the Expos. I love that last. I'm sorry. What's his name? The guy you just had on?
Adnan Virk.
The great Adnan Virk.
Adnan Virk. All right. Yeah, I think I told you this before. I'm a Montreal native, the great city of Montreal,
Yes.
and I go up there every couple summers. Of course,
Now, what's
right
your
now I can't
go-to?
go.
What's your go-to meal when you go to the Chez Paris?
I've never been to Chez Paris. I'm blind, so the strip clubs are kind of lost on me.
No, then you can still eat the food there.
Well, I always have to have a smoked meat and a poutine when I go to the
Absolutely.
great Schwartz.
Exactly.
Get a smoked meat at Schwartz. A great poutine. But the Expos a couple of years ago, there was a big push. They were selling Expos hats in liquor stores, and there was a big push to bring back the Expos. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it crushed me. 1994 for one, the year of the strike. I mean, Montreal had
They were
the
in
best
first
record
place.
in baseball.
Yeah.
Yep.
Them and
Absolutely.
the Yankees, best record in baseball. And, of course, the Rick Monday home run still haunts my dreams. In 1980 when he hit that jack in the Big O to knock the Expos out in Game 7 against the Dodgers. I don't know if you guys remember that.
No, I mean I loved baseball in Montreal. I loved going up there. Now I remember I go back to Jarry Park, and that is a long time ago.
Pac Jarry, yes.
Jarry.
The Pac Jarry. Yeah, before that, you had the Montreal Royals. I don't know what league they played in. That was before my time. I remember my dad telling me about the Montreal Royals. I think that was probably a minor league team. But anyway, I hope they have baseball up there again. I know they talked about maybe splitting the season with Tampa Bay. Half the games in Tampa Bay, half the games in Montreal. But that's 4 or 5 years down the road. Hopefully we'll be past this craziness we got going on, and hopefully that'll happen because I'd love to see baseball in Montreal again. And real quick before I let you go, I listened to the call last week with Blind Mike.
Yes.
Talking about the Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know. Is there a Twitch app, or do I have to go, say, on my
there's
Safari
an app
on my iPhone?
No,
okay.
it's an app. It's both. It's an app that you download, and then you go in there, and then you look for /Tony Bruno Show, twitch.tv/Tony Bruno Show.
Okay. All right, because I'm totally blind, and I use voiceover in an iPhone as well as him. So I thought if I download the app, maybe I've been an iPhone user for 10, 15 years now. Maybe I could kind of navigate and see if it's accessible as far as, because the video is lost on me obviously in Twitch, but I would love to be able to chime in that way, and maybe I'll download the app later on there and check it out, and if I'm able to have some success with it, maybe I can help Blind Mike out there
Yes,
from one blind brother to another.
Just so you know, there is an audio-only option on the app, on the phone app, and then you can still join the chat room.
And then I can hear you guys in between, kind of like the podcast, right?
Correct.
You guys are
You can hear us yelling at Robin normally, and then
don't yell at Miss Robin.
And
She
then
does a
sometimes
wonderful
we yell
job.
at Harry. Harry yells at everybody, and so it's pretty much equal.
Right on. Well, I just wanted to say, you guys are awesome. I've been listening every day since I found you, man. I look forward to my Mondays. Make Mondays great again, and you guys be good, man.
Thank you, Simone. Appreciate it, man. Stay safe out there in NorCal.
All right.
Or NorCal, depending on where you go. Let's go stay out on the West Coast, Harry. Representing Vasu in the house with the Jam Posse. What's going on, man?
Hi, Tony. Every couple of months a phone call to you to say hi. Hi,
How
Robin.
are you? And we keep in touch on Twitch and Twitter. You're on Twitter all the time. We go back and forth.
I like that. Yeah, you follow me, and I appreciate that. Hi, Harry. Nice to talk to you.
Hey.
I've never met you, I don't think.
Have you followed Harry? You following Harry at all?
I do follow Harry.
Now,
I do follow Harry.
Does Vasu know of this new edict that came out of Los Angeles County?
That they're thinking about shutting it down for 3 more months?
Oh, no, I didn't hear about that. I'm in Northern California. Tony. I haven't heard much about Southern California. But
Yeah, the Los
I have
Angeles
not heard
County,
about that.
the stay-at-home order with all certainty, in quotes, will be extended for the next 3 months. According to the public health commissioner in Los Angeles County, that has not been made official yet, but she says that if things don't get better, it could stay shut down for the next 3 months in Southern California, which obviously affects everybody. But when you talk about sports coming back, I mean, if baseball comes back in July and now it's May, and we're talking August, they won't be able to play games at Dodger Stadium, even without fans.
Right.
Or in Dodger Stadium obviously would be the most affected. Anaheim with the Angels would be affected. Now, if it's not Northern California, and who knows what's going to happen there, then the Giants and the A's wouldn't be able to play. So I have no idea. That's why I'm feeling more. I want to be optimistic, but each day that passes, we seem to be getting hit with more bad news than good news.
Well, here's why I'm optimistic, Tony. I heard that story about 3 weeks ago with the lab in Utah that does the blood doping testing and the steroid testing. They were doing all the testing for the antibodies, and they tested all the employees across the Major League Baseball scope to all the employees. And out of 6,000 people, they had less than 1% or about 1% that did test positive.
Right.
And so if they can get those numbers down, then they can. They tested a bunch of people out here with the Giants that I know, that you know too, that all tested negative. And so if they can get it in one area, the 10-team, 3-division deals where they can all be in one area, then that might be a possibility. But the spring training part, the second spring training part, is where I'm fascinated by it, because you can control that environment with special employees, and you can train for however long you want, wherever you want. It's just a matter of when other teams come in and when other people come in to play you. That's the part that's concerning. And regarding the LA County thing, boy, and you know me, Tony, boy, it's pretty tough to date 6 feet away from somebody.
Exactly right. I saw that. I saw this one woman ran out on the Venice beach the other day, and they had police chasing her down. She was protesting, saying, "Hey, I want to be on the beach," and she was the only person out there. And so, listen, I get we have to be safe, but I think the extremists on both sides are what really are screwing this thing up. Let's just now, for example, here in Pennsylvania, right? One of the things that we've known now for a couple of months is that we have to take care of people in nursing homes. Mm-hmm. That's not breaking news. No. We've known this for months.
That's common sense.
Right. And so down in Florida, they say they took care of the nursing homes first and all those other places. Guess what our governor here in Pennsylvania is doing today? And I hate to get political, but I live here. And I have an elderly mom who thankfully is not in a nursing home.
Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
But the governor now, all of a sudden, our governor on May 12th says, well, you know what? He's going to start mandating that every person who works in a nursing home and lives in a nursing home be tested once a week.
Wow.
Well, whoop-de-damn-do, Tom Wolf. What a genius it took. Why didn't you wait for another 5,000 people to die in nursing homes before you decided to start testing the people who go in and out every night, by the way? The nursing home people go in. Their families can't even go see them.
Right.
So the people that are going in and out are the employees. They have to be tested absolutely positively. That's what bothers me, is the lack of absolute common sense.
Well, there's no way to determine when this date started to flatten it or do anything. So everybody's still on pins and needles. But I got to tell you, Tony, the most passion I've seen in the last 3 months from you on Twitter has been about Philadelphia politics. It cracks me up half the time. And
because I live here,
half the time.
And I live here. It's my city, and I got to run, man. Thank you for checking in, Vasu. Everybody can rip the president and rip their senators. When it affects you in your neighborhoods, that's where you have the most impact.
Mm-hmm.
When I criticize the mayor and the district attorney, it's because it's affecting the livelihood of people who live in this city where I live. Not me. I'm speaking for those who have no voices. We're coming right back. You know what else we got, Harry? The great Sean Salisbury. We'll talk some more football. Coming up in the next hour, Tony and Harry. Stick around, kids.
Hand wash.
I didn't cut the music there, Tony.
That's okay.
It was too far in.
That's okay.
Keith Oberman likes the idea. Beach Babe, he said, that's a great idea. But then he got real negative, and he said baseball's not coming back before September. And that'd be a miracle. 2021 is a better bet, but not a certainty. Keith, come on.
Now, here it is. This is from Shams Charania. The NBA and the NBA Players Association are forming a working group and have a call today to discuss return-to-play strategies which will include NBA PA President Chris Paul and players Russell Westbrook, Jason Tatum, Kyle Lowry, and Dwight Powell.
So now today, Montgomery County, 164 total cases, but 128 of them were in LTC facilities.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, you could be someone who's never even seen a doctor and figure out that the first place you protect is nursing homes.
But Montgomery County will not get opened up.
No.
Because of all these nursing home situations.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a business owner in Conchie,
Mhm.
and nursing home people they don't come to my place anyway.
Right.
Correct.
But I'm being held.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is silly. Well, I mean, I'm sure the thought process is that the people that work in those nursing homes and that are nearby would go into those establishments so they could be. It's just, but if they're being tested, if they are taking all the proper precautions, just like anybody that works in a hospital, do you think everybody in a hospital is completely isolated in a bubble? No, they go home. RFITS G, we're going to be locked in all summer. I've been saying it from the beginning. Nope, I'm not accepting it. I am going to be the positive one out of all of us. I'm saying we are going to figure out.
I haven't been positive in this, Robin.
Well, I'm just
Hello?
saying that I'm even more positive than you. I'm going to be the ray of sunshine.
About to hit at double zeros.
Let's see. Boom!
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
Answering questions, questioning answers. That's what this is all about. And you don't even have to do the hokey pokey. It's Tony and Harry. Miss Robin in here trying to be positive.
Yes.
It's hard, Tony.
And then something goes terribly, terribly wrong.
Don't worry. I will be your ray of sunshine, folks.
Until we have to yell at her about something. But we don't look
and
to yell.
I'm still the ray of sunshine.
Now, I have some positive news from the NBA front because we know the baseball thing is now all gobbledygooked up, so to speak, because you got the players are now trying to decide whether they want to go along with the owners, but they're not getting enough of the so they're fighting about money, which, as Adnan Virk, who was on with us last hour, said, that's not going to make any of the fans happy.
No,
the fans don't want to hear billionaire owners arguing with millionaire players.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of players that don't make millions. And there are a lot of minor league players who are going to fall through the cracks. And there are people who work at the facilities and the stadiums. They're all going to be forgotten, too, as we have more and more people every day saying, well, let's forget about sports.
But the bullseye will be on the players if this doesn't get done. The fan base will turn on them to saying that they're greedy or, it'll end up making the players look bad.
You're right.
If they don't play.
And remember this 94 season when the players walked out in August because the owners wanted them to accept a salary cap. They shut that season down. We were talking about the Montreal Expos,
Right.
And there were great not only team marks that were being achieved, individual marks that season from players that all went out the window. They canceled the World Series. And I remember John Sterling, the voice of the Yankees, actually was out of work for that summer, and he came up to ESPN and did some radio because he had no games to call.
Was he just doing a show?
He was doing the weekend shows with me and Keith, and so John Sterling became, hey, I'll come up there and let's talk some sports. And so John Sterling was working for the summer with us at ESPN Radio when there was no baseball to call back then. And so now there's nothing to call right now. Well, there are a couple of things. You got NASCAR on Sunday. You got some golf. You've got the Bundesliga. You've got more UFC coming up Wednesday night.
Now, is that the Fight Island thing?
No, that's later.
Yet.
They haven't put that together yet.
All right.
But there's 3 cards down there in the same place in Jacksonville, and they're going to do it again on Wednesday night, and I'll await the Thursday columns about what do they think they're doing. That's one thing you can count on right now, Harry.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime some sporting event happens, you'll have the moral conscience of America.
Yeah, some sanctimonious writer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with, and so are sanctimonious talk show hosts.
Well, yeah,
or
they
sanctimonious
exist,
politicians telling us that we need. So the UFC action tomorrow night, Wednesday and Saturday night. Remember, we told you about the 3 cards. So it wasn't just last Saturday night, which was the first live real sporting event involving participants, and participants who were beating the pulp out of each other. Not participants who were socially distanced in the ring, in the octagon there.
Right.
So that I think gave more of a sort of a knockout punch to the people who are like, we can't play any sports because you can't be any more close than the fighters, the announcer, or actually the ring announcer went in later, Joe Rogan, but the announcers were socially distanced and away.
Mm-hmm.
But the referee was in there. He was wearing a mask. And so that's what's going to happen as we see more and more teams or leagues start to do it with safety. There'll be people saying, well, why are they doing this? If baseball's not doing it or the NBA's not doing it, why should these other sports entities do it? Don't they want to learn from everybody else?
Well,
And
I mean,
that's the world. It's got to be groupthink, Harry.
If they can do it safely, you just think probably more people watched MMA last weekend.
Absolutely.
Than might have ever watched it because there was nothing else on. Like, I'm not an MMA guy, okay? Right. I was out on Saturday night. Had I been home, I would have watched it.
Yeah. I've been to a lot of MMA events, and so I like to watch it. Do I like to see guys' faces punched out and they have to submit? The only time I look for submission is, when you're wrestling at home and you're just
consensual,
and you're not really trying to hurt somebody. You don't want them to consent. You don't want them to say, "Okay, that's enough."
You don't go figure 4 leg lock.
No, you don't. Yeah, just a little bit of pressure, just a little bit, just
a little arm bar action.
Yeah, a little arm bar maybe. Not quite figure 4, but maybe just a knee wrap.
Not real choking.
No. Just a nice. Anyway. Let's get it back to the NBA story that I was talking about. So, according to Sham Charania, who's Charania, I always mess his name
Sham Charania.
Sham Charania.
Yeah.
Why
He's
can't
good.
I get? He's very good.
He's very good.
He's a great NBA writer. He writes for The Athletic. He is reporting now that apparently the NBA muckety mucks are going to be getting together. And they're now going to actually start putting together. I hope they don't do this. We're going to put together a committee who's then going to study, and then we're going to take a couple months and figure out whether or not this guy likes it, or the union likes it, or the players like it, or Shaq likes it, or Shaq doesn't like it.
Shaq already said shut the whole thing down.
I know he did. Shut the damn thing down. I got all kinds of commercials to shoot. I got to go make money. And I love Shaq. Listen, that's why I love Shaq. He tells you what he thinks. Are they going to listen to him if they're going to do this? No. But he has a right to give his opinion because he's a Hall of Fame player.
And he also said that if they do go back and play like the playoffs and you get an eventual champion, that there would be an asterisk next to, 2020 NBA champion.
And there are people who will agree with that. But see, I disagree with that because they played most of their season.
Right.
The difference is like the Astros played and they won. People don't want to put an asterisk on that because of the cheating scandal, which has now been documented. I mean, the Boston Red Sox paid the price, right?
Yeah.
And obviously so have the Houston Astros. And they didn't even get to go back on the field other than a couple of preseason exhibition games where the fans were banging on trash cans and remember taking signs to spring training games. So playoffs, if you have a playoff system and you have the teams that already have played a bulk of their games in the NBA or the NHL and they go ahead and play it and finish it off, I don't have a problem with that. I don't see how you put an asterisk on it, Harry.
No, I agree. I mean
that would be a legitimate playoff, and you played most of the season.
Right.
Now, baseball, there will be people who argue, if they do play an 82-game season, that it's going to be not legit because it's a half a season, and then there'll be teams that just miss the playoffs who will complain. See, if we had played 162, that always happens. But, Shaq doesn't need the money either. But Shaq is very active. Got his podcast, and that's what's great about Shaq having access to the world every day and every week, doing his podcast with John Kincaid down in Atlanta. Anyway, who's going to join us coming up, Harry?
Sean Salisbury.
Sean Salisbury. You know what he's doing right now, other than doing radio and media in Houston?
What else?
He still does quarterback camps.
Oh, really?
Virtual ones now. Yeah, seriously, I asked him to come on last week after the draft, but he was busy. He does a morning show in Houston, and then in the afternoon, he works with quarterbacks, and he's been doing it for years.
So, what do kids send him film, and he
we'll
studies,
ask him when he
breaks
comes
down
on
the film?
People send me films that I break them down, but it's a little different. But I do have expertise in some areas, Harry, other than radio. But anyway,
you're no Adnan Virk, though.
No, his movie knowledge
My
is great.
God.
It is absolutely.
He is a cinephile.
He really is.
Yeah, he really is.
And the other thing I noticed out about him is he doesn't take a breath when he's speaking.
No,
he is the
not at all.
fastest speaker I think I've
He
ever
does.
seen.
He rolls, and you can understand everything he says.
Yes. Fantastic pronunciation.
It's good stuff. That's why I love that. That's why we put the quality people on the program here. We're not just putting some Struns off the street on. You know what I'm saying? If you're following me. But anyway, so the NBA news is a little bit more upbeat today, since that they're ready to talk. And that's what you want. You need to talk before you get this stuff done. One guy saying, no, we shouldn't have basketball. Another guy saying, yes, we should have basketball. Writers saying we shouldn't have any sports. Forget it. Screw everybody. We're all going to die. We need 18 more months before we know. But the bottom line is this. When you have organizations whose job it is to make these decisions with the approval of both sides and the people who run the sport and the safety precautions that need to be taken, who needs to listen to sports writers telling them what they should or should not do, or radio talk show hosts, or former players?
Well, I guess it's like, if you're a columnist and you gotta put in a couple of columns a week, and there's nothing going on, your opinion on whether they should play or not is
Again, I'm not
pretty
saying
much
that,
all you got, right?
Yeah, but your opinion every day doesn't have to be, well, it sucks again today. Let's just forget it. And then tomorrow is, oh, no, did you see what happened now? UFC actually had fights over the weekend. Oh, God, what are they doing? They're killing people.
Maybe they should just shut everything down through 2021.
That's what it seems like a lot of these people, because they're not changing every day. And again, you don't have to change your opinion. But no matter what is put out every single day, it's always the same. Oh, what are we thinking here? What? And trust me, that's not me over-exaggerating, Harry. You look at some of the people and what they're writing every single day. And again, it's their right to do it, but it's also their job. And I'm not saying that they should be saying, let's go play, I want to write some columns. It's their job to say, let the people who run the businesses, your newspaper businesses weren't being run too well. That's why half of them are going out of business.
More than half.
Don't
now.
tell people how to run their business when, sadly, you work for an organization, same thing with radio and television. We're all in a business where the people who run our industries are having to get rid of people, too, because they don't know how to adapt during issues and during times of trouble. And I don't even mean this coronavirus pandemic. I mean just everyday business. Figuring out that people aren't buying newspapers anymore and then waking up one day and saying, gee, nobody's buying newspapers, we got to shut down. This thing came suddenly, and people are trying to deal with it. And if you just want to be
a doomsayer
every single day, and I get it, it's cool to be out there and saying, if you want to bring sports back, you want to kill the babies. You want people to die, Harry.
I know.
What's wrong with you?
So selfish.
I can't believe you even go out on the golf course. Because who knows, maybe when you touch the ball marker, maybe when you touch the stick, accidentally you left some coronavirus on there.
I didn't even touch the flag stick today.
Did you hit Did you bounce one off yet? Have you bounced one out of the hole yet?
No, because the insert is lower now. They made them shorter, so the ball actually can fall into the hole. But then you don't even have to touch the stick. You just go in and grab the ball. It's very safe.
You leave the glove on though when you putt?
Actually, today I wore 2 gloves because I had my winter gloves. It was that cold, Tony.
Did you yell out at one particular time after that ball stung when you hit that ball and you hit it a little too
pissed off?
No,
Did you yell at it all?
I didn't hit any off the neck today.
Anyway, you know who's going to join us next? The great Sean Salisbury from Houston. Hello. We'll talk football. We'll talk everything that matters. It's Tony and Harry, Miss Robin, Sean Salisbury. Next.
Hand washing and...
At Sean Unfiltered.
Yes. I love when guys who have shows that are on gambling calling people racist if we have sports coming back. Then how would they exist? Somebody's mentioning a talk show host who said that if you open up...
Yeah, just ignore that. Hey, Tony?
Yes.
I just am talking to Heath about that fan idea, which is freaking brilliant, making Mondays great again, from the caller from California, to do a hat. I think it's brilliant. Don't you?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you got distracted.
I know. No, I'm talking to the people on the Twitch stream. The hosel, off the heezy, off the hosel. Did you hit a hosel rocket, Harry?
Not today.
You could feel that sting, baby. Feel the burn. Well, Sean Brace is saying that if you want to rush it back, you're racist. It's pretty dumb to say when you're on a radio station whose sole purpose is to promote gambling. I don't know. That's what people are reporting. I don't know. I haven't heard him in a long time.
Yeah.
No, rush it back. The rush it back. He's part of the don't rush it back crowd.
No,
because that's the hip and that's the woke thing to say on radio and newspaper.
But what does rushing it back mean? Like people, I think again, people are thinking that it's either or. Either you close down or you open it completely up again. No, that's not what anybody's saying.
No, people are. There's extremes on both sides. And the bottom line is anybody who wants to open it now in the next couple of months is still rushing it back.
No, that's ridiculous.
That's what it is. It started out as we got to get the curve down, flatten the curve.
And flattening the curve, once again, did not mean getting rid of the virus.
No, but it was the excuse of that means that most people have gotten it, and now it's going to go down. But then the whole, if you go outside, then it's going to just like Fauci, who has absolutely zero evidence that this thing is going to flare up again in the fall.
Correct.
Zero.
Somebody said it anyway.
Zero scientific evidence.
Play action reel. We're not judging anybody that doesn't want to go back to normalcy. Everybody has a choice. You can still shelter in place. I mean, that's the whole point.
You can live. You can stay inside.
Yeah.
You can live. I want to live too. But I'm not going to sit in my house for 18 months. I'm going to go out. I'm going to be careful, just like I've been doing, just like my mother's done. And so, all you young people telling me that I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. I'm giving an opinion. I'm not telling anybody to go out and open up shit. It's the extremists on both sides. And it seems like the governor's like Tom Wolf. How he is not removed from office and recalled is beyond anything I could ever see. And these states are getting sued. Their asses are getting sued, and they're losing every single case because they don't have the authority to violate people's constitutional rights.
Correct.
Sean's following you on Twitter, man.
I don't know.
Salisbury.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Trump-supporting apologist. And when have I supported Trump on the show or even mentioned his name?
No, his name has not come up.
That's because Steve is a guy in Detroit, and you want to talk about people who are addicted to one thing. Look at their governor. Look at your governor. Tell me you're proud of him.
Or her.
And then the other guy is Illinois.
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
Football, it's in the air. It's not if you listen to some people like Herm Edwards, our good buddy. Herm Edwards was talking about this earlier, Harry. About if you can't have students back on campus.
You can't have college football.
You can't have college football. Hello? And a man who knows Herman Edwards and knows pretty much every coach and every player in the National Football League will be joining us here in a second, the great Sean Salisbury. And we'll get to find out what's going on.
At Sean Unfiltered on Twitter.
Sean Unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
See, we need it to be filtered at least 3 or 4 times.
I like 6 times.
6 times. We're talking vodka.
6 times filtration.
On radio and television, you could be unfiltered. But let's go to Herm Edwards before we get the Sean on here. And let's hear what he had to say, because there's a lot of people saying, SEC especially, Harry, SEC people saying, hey, man, let's get the football going.
Right, yeah.
Alabama, let's get down there and get some boys down there. Let's go down there, LSU. And Georgia, let's get between the hedges again. And then there's other coaches who say, no. And one of those guys is Herm Edwards at ASU.
The last time I checked, this football thing, it's not a social distancing sport by any stretch of the imagination. And with that being said, if there's no students on campus, you're sending a signal that you feel it's not quite safe for them to return to campus. Well, if that's the case, why is it safe for the players to play football then?
Hello? Because it sounded like that's all that answer at the very beginning. I was waiting for a hello. You play to win the game.
Now, this football thing now, it's not a social distancing sport now.
No, it's not. Let's go to a man who socially distances and who follows the game, played the game, talks about the game, teaches the game. The great Sean Salisbury down there in Houston. Hello. How are you, man?
I'm doing great. Good to be on with you guys, who also went and got a haircut.
No!
Had a margarita and a burrito. Got a pedicure and played golf this past week. So there you go.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to give you one of these.
Somewhat social distancing with a mask on, except the golf course and my restaurant.
Wait a minute. I got to give you one of these now on behalf of all the sports writers and people out there who know better and are telling people like you who are going to go out there and kill other people in Houston, Texas. I got to say this. Shame.
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 Okay. All right. Yeah, it's shame on me, but if the pedicure place is open and I don't want wolf toes, so they're scratching on the floor when I walk, and I walk in, they take your temperature, they put a mask on you, and the people there that are a small business trying to actually stay essential, according to, but far be it for us to decide. I mean, hell, man, you're not essential, but you are, right? So, yes, I did. Shame on me for actually social distancing, having common sense, and being respectful. But God forbid supporting opening a business, because you know what? It's disrespectful to somebody 4,000 miles away when I'm walking down the street that I didn't have a mask on. I live by all the rules, but I'll be damned if a restaurant's not open. I'm not going to go support it with social distancing. You want to hit that dinger again for me?
No, let me give you one of these right now. We are standing as one. I'm sick and tired of people telling us that we don't have a right to think that we can't sit around for 18 more months until we get a vaccine, that no one knows if it will even happen in 18 months. That's my problem with it.
Hey, Tony, listen now. Here's what I don't get. Listen, I got an 81-year-old mother and a sister who runs a grocery store in Las Vegas on the front line. So they live it. And I shouldn't even have to qualify this. And I hate when people do, and I'm going to qualify it anyway, that we have to say, of course we care about people's safety. Of course I don't want anybody sick or dying. Of course all that. But I can, of course, want to go out and eat and still try to be respectful and safe. I can fly on a plane and wear a mask and not sneeze on somebody and be respectful of their distance, too. I can actually go to a restaurant and sit at a table outside on a patio 3 tables away from somebody else and eat my chicken enchilada and support a local without putting somebody in danger. So, you know what? The extremes are out of hand both ways.
Yep.
Where somebody says, well, go ahead and sneeze. And I understand all the, so I get it, and I'm all about it. I don't want my 81-year-old mother to get sick. I sure as hell don't want that to happen, but I can tell you this. I'll be damned if you're going to fear-monger me into not knowing and thinking that if I go on a golf course and I'm by myself playing in a golf cart, that I should feel guilty because somebody else decided they weren't feeling well and wanted to stay home, which they should. Mm-hmm. And I would respect that. So, you know what? I know we're going to talk sports and have fun, but damn, it's okay to want people safe and also to want to go out and support people who are mental health, financially dying as well. So we can do both and it only takes some common sense
and some respect for others. And you know what? The same guy who wants to rip you for going and getting something to eat is the guy who won't wash his hands when he grabs his pecker at a baseball game in the bathroom and walks straight outside and go eat the hot dog. Screw him.
You're
okay?
absolutely
Let's give him
right.
another roaring
Let me
round
give
of
you.
applause.
Oh, man, I got to tell you, Sean. You're on a roll, baby.
That deserves a standing ovation.
Now I'm done. It's great to be on with you guys.
Jeez. Now, where did you end up playing golf? Champions or the Golf Club of Houston?
Golf Club of Houston. I played out there at the tournament course. I'm actually a member there because, as you guys know the game, I do their endorsements on my show. So I get to play out there, and I was out there playing, and I take a lesson because it's been a while, but I had knee replacement back in the fall. And so a guy named Mike McGettrick, who's a great teacher, getting my swing back so I can draw the ball because I was all over the place. I saw the whole course, but so yeah, Golf Club of Houston, which was awesome and in great shape and a great place.
So when I get down to Houston, you'll get me out there?
Anytime you guys come here, or I come, first of all, you know I love where you guys live and the great fans in that part of the country, respect and how passionate they are. You guys come here, it's my treat. If social distancing is over, then we won't social distance. If it isn't over, then Tony, we'll put something between the cart, and we'll all three ride in diff carts, and we'll go out and play, and it's my treat. Yes, I got you.
Right. Now, listen, I've hung with every time I go to Houston, I make sure I hang with Sean. You know what I mean? Because he's one of my favorite people.
Right.
But no, Harry, my partner here, he has a thing. Every time we have a guest on, and he knows where they live near a nice track, he just automatically assumes, and then he hears golf. And then he's like, I ask people if they're following me on Twitter. Harry asks if that person can get them on one of the great local tracks.
Well, Harry, you follow me on Twitter at Sean and Phil, and I'll follow you back. And I got you. When we go out there, you're on. And guess what? I always like to say, if it's free, it's me. Give me 3. I'm in, brother. Let's go.
Beautiful. Now, Sean, I was mentioning before you came on that you do your show there in Houston in the mornings, and then in the afternoon. So you usually work with quarterbacks one-on-one, but now you're doing virtual quarterback mentoring, right?
I'm doing both. Well, you know what, Tony? I do sessions with them. I'm actually going to start something like virtual training, so mechanics, the reminders for them. But right now, because of this, I'm actually on the field about 6 days a week. Training around the country. I probably train between 50 and 60 guys, but I just trained a quarterback and 7 receivers on the field yesterday, so we didn't have to virtual because we got a little bit more open in Texas, and we got fields to work on, so you can social distance and run routes. And remember, these kids didn't have spring practice. You know, none of these kids. So right now, I'm basically, and I don't just mean me, but people who are doing this with their kids or the kids they train, this is their spring practice. They'll have virtual sessions with their high school or college coaches or whoever it is. But, you know, I'm still grinding on the mechanics. So, yeah, I spend most of my afternoons during the summer, fall, winter. When they want to grind, I had a session at a kid's house where we did a chalkboard, whiteboard session and talked about coverages. He's an 8th grader that's about to go into high school. So I got all to run the gamut from 5-star guys to a guy who's never played the position before but is improving. So, and I love those guys too because they make me. I love to see the light switch in their eyes get big when they've mastered a part of the, understanding a certain part of the drop, or when they understand what cover 2 means. So I'm actually doing a little bit virtual. I'm training them on the field. We're doing classroom sessions because while I love what we do and we're blessed to get paid to do what we do, my biggest passion is coaching these kids and getting texts on Friday night from about 6 o'clock till West Coast 11 o'clock at night telling me how they did on their Friday night. It means a lot to me.
If you were the Bengals GM, would you have also taken Burrow over Tua?
Yeah, I would have. And now listen, I wasn't one of those guys that was oh my gosh, the fear of Tua's hip. When a doctor who's an expert says his hip is pristine, I believe that guy. Just like if the guy who did my knee replacement says, Sean, after we go in and look back at it, the knee is healed and ready to go, you can go play basketball again, I'll trust him. And so I trust Tua's doctor now, and I know he's going to grind on the what I call the lonely work when nobody's around working on it. Now, this year's going to be different because they don't have the ability to be around their players and their coaches and teammates during OTAs. They're going to have to do things different, but I would have taken Burrow. I like them both. I do. Matter of fact, there's things I love about both of them. Tua is the way he layers throws and everything he does, He feels the part. And then there's Burrow, who, gets kicked in the teeth, has to transfer, struggles he has a great feat. I mean, a tough, a kind of an average, what we'd call it, 2 years ago when he got there, gets a new coach, changes his game, goes out and has the best season we've ever seen, starts the national championship game, struggles in the first quarter, pulls his way out of it. I love his swagger, his accuracy. You can't coach accuracy, guys.
No.
I can change it a little bit, but you either got it or you don't. I think they both have in different ways tremendous football moxie, but you would have had to give up a lot for me to consider trading Joe Burrow for something else. But I will tell you this, Harry, and I do believe this. Had Tua have never been through the injury, the ankles, or any injury history, it wouldn't have been the Tua-Herbert conversation. We would have had the Tua-Burrow. That would have been the more heated who would have been taken first. But they made the right choice, and so did Miami.
The great Sean Salisbury, Sean Unfiltered down there in Houston. Hello. All right, Sean, now down there in Houston, you got situations with the baseball team that had spring training and was hearing garbage cans, and then that shut down. And then you got the football team where the fans have to still be a little irked at the coach down there. So what's the bigger topic right now? What's the one that concerns you the most? Because baseball's trying to get something, but they got the players negotiations going on. And then you got football, where business is still occurring, but as far as playing games and OTAs and training camp, that's still a long way away.
Yeah, that's a great question, Tony. I'll tell you this. If I lined up, now he made 2 early good draft picks, but let's just say after the DeAndre Hopkins trade, or after the Kansas City Chiefs 24-0 lead that they blew. If I would have lined up Jeff Luhnow, A.J. Hinch, and Bill O'Brien in the same line and say, choose in order which one you want to keep, and the last one you choose has to leave, they would have gone Hinch stays, Luhnow second, Bill O'Brien third. That's the way the city feels about Bill. Now, Bill's a smart guy. He's a good football coach. The problem is I have yet to talk to an NFL former head coach, current front office guy, or former front office guy that believes you can be great at GM and coach unless your name's Belichick, and he's sustained it over a long period of time. Bill, the problem is Bill knows he's got power, and he uses it to his advantage, and quite frankly, it becomes the disadvantage of a team because he's used it wrong. But I will tell you, his first 2 picks, which meant number 40 and 90 in this draft, the defensive tackle and the end from Florida, Grenard, and the pass rusher, and then Blacklock from Texas Christian, both really good picks. But Bill doesn't really like to play rookies much. He wants to play veterans. He tried to do that to Watson until halftime, and they said, well, Watson's better than the quarterback they got, so let's put him in at halftime, and the rest is history. So he is probably the most despised, and it's unfortunate because of both, and the fans here in this town don't trust him. So the topic of conversation is, it's starting to creep to Astros, but it's still more Texans post-draft. Is Bill O'Brien, what happens if they go 8-8? Is O'Brien safe? Or what if they go 12-4? But the saving grace for it all is that every time, like Philly with Wentz, Aaron Rodgers, Russ Wilson, Pat Mahomes, there's about 7 or 8 of them in the league, that regardless of the rest of the team around you, anytime you take the field, you got a chance to win. It's like when I played at SC my freshman year, and I walked on the field, Marcus Allen, that year he won the Heisman. Every time we walked out of the tunnel, I knew that because of him and Bruce Matthews and that, we had a chance to win, that no matter what you did early, we still had a chance to win. And Watson gives this town hope, and they may never have a guy like him again. He's that good, but the people are still frustrated with the Hopkins trade, and they get, it's that the history of what Bill O'Brien's done since he's been here, even though he's won 4 division titles. So while it is a football state, in truth, if both teams are going great, they like the Astros more here. People still, talk about the Astros, and the truth is, unfortunately, because of this pandemic, and I'm not saying it's a good thing, but for the Astros and the abuse they would have taken on the road, that's kind of, we don't talk about it anymore. Heck, we're not going to talk much about the Red Sox stuff at all, the Astros. So while they don't have to take that abuse, I'm sure they would take the abuse to get rid of the pandemic and get everybody alive and healthy again. But the Astros, this is a huge Astros town, even though it's a football state.
Tony Bruno, Harry Mays, talking with Sean Salisbury down there in Houston, talking about the local scene and, of course, all the national stuff going on. But, Sean, you mentioned the situation with the Astros. Yeah, when people who haven't been to Houston, and I've been there a million times, Harry's been there, people think, Well, it's got to be college football, pro football. I mean, it's Texas football, high school, every level. Football is king in the state of Texas, is it not?
It is, but you'd be surprised. I mean, it's, you go to College Station and A&M on a SEC Saturday, like there'll be 100,000 people and you'll be tailgating from 6 in the morning. You know that. But the truth of the matter is it's odd. It's a great high school football town. Don't ever get married on a Friday night in Texas, Houston, Dallas, Austin, because nobody's showing up to your wedding because they're going to watch Katy High School play, some other high school in town to play each other. So don't do that, and don't throw a party on a Friday night. But yet high school football on a Friday is bigger than local Houston Saturdays. Now, here's why. It's so many diverse town where so many people, because of the gas and oil industry, move here. You got a A&M fan, a Texas fan, a TCU fan, an Alabama fan, an LSU fan, a Tennessee fan. So it's not like moving to Norman, Oklahoma, where you either love Oklahoma football or you're a clown show. So it's not on a Saturday. I can go into a bar at 11 o'clock on a noon start and get to watching game day, and there'll be 8 people in there. Now, when Clemson comes at a Clemson bar, it'll start to get packed. See what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's really weird. It's a weird dynamic, and I think huge town, a lot of people, but so many people root for so many different. If you don't go to that team's bar, we rarely on a Monday, unless it's a big story like LSU, which was huge because it's close and it's the neighboring state is Louisiana, is rarely on a Monday will college football even get mentioned unless it's as we start to roll towards the night. I mean, it gets mentioned a little, University of Houston won, and, man, did you see the great game Kyler Murray had at Oklahoma? Boy, look what Joe Burrow's doing. But it's weird. If you were in the South or in Tennessee or in Oklahoma, you wouldn't talk. NFL would come second. But college football, weirdly enough, is not a dominating topic of conversation on a Monday morning after a big football weekend.
That's interesting. Hey, what did you think of Jalen Hurts going to the Eagles in the second round?
This may not be popular in Philadelphia, and I'm a Wentz fan. I'm all for making your team better. I'm not worried about my starting quarterback's feelings. It's just like Dak Prescott in Dallas. I'm not worried if I'm Dak that they brought a 9-year veteran, Andy Dalton, there. If you don't like competition, then how can I trust you with 1:54 to go in a game? Are you going to wuss out on me because you're afraid? And I don't think Wentz or Prescott have that gene in them. I think they'll relish the competition. We've seen it. But I tell you, guys, when I watched Jalen Hurts play, his freshman year, I'll never forget when I saw him against USC when they beat us like a drum at Jerry's house when he was a freshman. I walked out of that building and told my Trojan alumni buddies that I played with at college, I said, that's the most poised football player in America. He was a freshman. And I still to this day believe in the years that I've been watching, I didn't say he's the best, he is the most poised player. He's been benched. He's come off the bench. He started and got him there. And his first snap in that game, he laid it on the ground and fumbled. And I thought, oh, my gosh, what's Saban going to do? Rides the course. Then he loses his job. Then people want to know, can he throw? Well, he transfers. After he loses the job, boom. Lincoln Riley takes care of his business. I said all along for the last month and a half, and not a pat on the back, but I said, he's going in the second round. If he gets to the third round, people are going to feel like they missed out. Now, going to Philly, people say, why? We needed others. Yeah, well, you got a receiver, a couple of them, and then you got Wentz. But why wouldn't I want to strengthen my team? He's not going to be Taysom Hill, guys. He's a quarterback, and he is a winner. And if all of a sudden Carson gets hurt for 2 games, Bill Belichick does it every year, except this year. He goes and gets assets at that position. Even though he's got Brady, he gets Garoppolo. Even though he's got Garoppolo, he got Brissett. Even though he's got Brissett, he goes and gets somebody else. So why not, if you're Philadelphia, get this guy ready, have a couple packages for him, and if you lose Wentz for a game or 2, that's the difference in winning the division or not making the playoffs. And I'm telling you, you're going to fall in love with him. He's a strong kid. He throws it better than you think. There's this stigma, he went to Oklahoma. He's not Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield. No, he's actually not. But he's as big and strong as they are. He's a late bloomer throwing it, and he is a coach's son, great football IQ. I think the city of Philadelphia is going to fall in love with him. I would have done the same thing. I love the pick, and I think Jalen Hurts, I know that they said some people take need over this, and look at the guy who's coaching him. I trust Doug Peterson's packages and what they're looking for. And you know what? If it heightens Carson Wentz's game again, who I love, good. then let's have two guys compete. There ain't nothing wrong with it. Philadelphia is going to be in the running. This is going to be a fun division to watch with them and the Cowboys this year.
You and I are on the same wavelength. I may have been the only guy in Philadelphia media who had no problem with the pick, and I see the vision, and I see it as a great selection.
Yes, it's one of those, you got to see the forest through the trees in this one. Of course, it's like, and people ask me, well, what was the worst pick? Jalen Hurts in the second round of Philly when they needed other things, or Jordan Love to Green Bay? Of course it's Jordan Love. Not that he's not going to be a great player, but I'll see in 2025. He's not going to see the field for 4 years. So you got to wait. Heck, his rookie contract will damn near be up unless Aaron leaves after 2 years or quits. But he's not playing. At least here, you got an insurance policy. You can grow him. There's different packages. He's a better thrower than people think. I'm with you, Tony. I think the people that didn't like the pick, he's going to be one of those guys that you're going to fall. His teammates are going to love him just like they do Carson. He is going to be a locker room favorite and a guy you'll trust soon because he's going to look like he's not even moving, and it's going to get done because he's so smooth. I'm a huge fan of the way he handles his business. I love this pick for Philly.
You and I, that's why we are great football minds, and that's why we're doing major radio broadcasting all over the world.
There you go, brother.
Beautiful, man.
There you go.
Hey, Sean, always great to talk to you, man. Stay safe down there. Enjoy life, because you only get one, not just a mama, but you only get one life, too.
I'm with you. Be safe, respect, do all the things we got to do, a little common sense. Harry, great to talk to you. Golf soon.
Thanks,
Tony,
Sean.
I love you, brother, and I'm here for you anytime. You guys be good. Appreciate you having me on.
Thanks, Sean. Always great to talk to you. There he is, the great Sean Salisbury.
He's got energy, man.
Yes, he does. He brings the alacrity, the intensity, everything that you need to be great at what he does. That's why I love that man, as much as a man can love another man.
How about he got a pedicure, went golfing, restaurant?
That is a man who's very secure with his masculinity.
Damn right.
Well, either that or he's got a dull toenail clipper. You know?
I can't even reach my toenails. No. I need to stretch a little bit more. We're coming back. Open lines, 215-462-TONY. You call, we talk. And we got a couple of other stories, including a Miss Robin update that you're going to absolutely love. So stick around for that.
Which one is that?
Let's see. Well, there's
The porn
your
star
park
thing?
one, and then there's the your haircut one. Is that the one that you're obviously talking about? That one, right?
No, what was the other one? No, the poop one.
Oh, that's Harry was the one that found that.
That's all right.
You
Which
wanna
one
do
do you
that?
want? You want to
It's
do
just
poop?
Jersey.
Should it be a Twitch chat room choice?
You want to hear about poop in New Jersey?
Poop in the park.
Or poop in the park.
Poop in the park, or
Or
special.
Brian Adams.
No.
Yeah, we got
that's
that
not
one,
the other
too.
one. Well, that's it. Or sexy
We only
haircuts.
have one segment here.
I
Right?
know.
We're coming out down the
Sexy
stretch.
haircuts.
Listen, nobody loves the adult entertainment stars more than this gentleman.
Hit the effing post says, Robin, have you seen Sean in the bench warmers? He better be secure in his masculinity. You know, I don't think I ever saw that movie. I should put that on the list. The bench warmers?
Yeah, it's a football movie.
I know. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Who's the strapper? Sean? Sean is not a strapper.
Joey Binoco. I took a shower and changed my oil while Salisbury talked. Good segment.
No, we covered a lot of
Covered
stuff.
everything. He did. He was another fast talker.
And he delivered his point, and he
Mhm.
wasn't wishy-washy. This is what you're supposed to be when you're in this business. Even if you don't agree with somebody, as long as they're passionate about what they think, that's what this is all about. You know what I'm saying?
I think poop in the park is winning. All right.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised actually.
Me too.
But okay.
People
Poop
like
it-
poop. Poop.
There it is.
Poop. You know I'm going to have to play that now, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I can't think of any other poop songs.
Other than what's inside your butthole by the little girl.
No, that doesn't apply here. Shaka laka, shaka laka.
Dean Loudbags. Tony and Harry, have you noticed a lot of natural blondes have gone a lot of time, energy, and trouble to dye their roots brown?
Yeah, including my wife.
Oh, is she? That's not her.
No.
I mean, I figured that it was a little bit lighter than normal with highlights, but she's actually, how dark of hair is she normally?
I don't want to know.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't want it to be.
That dark?
No.
Well, she can come over here. I can do it.
Well, we're going to get Angela's going to come over to the house.
I'm so glad I don't have to do anything to my hair.
I know this is one of Joe C's favorites. Favorite John's.
I'm really glad I don't have to do anything. I was lucky because I went into my hairdresser and just had it cut just before all of this hit. And but this is my natural hair color now, so I don't have to do anything. Thank God. I used to have the opposite. When I dyed my hair red,
shit.
I would be going blonde. This would come in, and then I would that is an even worse look than the other way around.
I've seen that on people.
Jamal158, thank you for your love of the word strapper. I appreciate it.
I love that word. It's underused.
Yes,
strapper.
it is.
It's got bite. It's good. It's got a good body. It works.
Who wears a parka in the Tony Bruno basement?
Parka?
That would be Mr. Joe
That's right,
Krause.
Joe's dressed like he's waiting for another polar vortex.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. It seems very warm to me. He's not even paying attention.
No.
I told you it was cold down here earlier.
It's not.
He's dialed in.
Welcome back to the Tony Bruno Show with Harry Mays on Sirius XM 211.
Tony and Harry, I wouldn't say shucking and jiving because that's not what we really do here. We're spitting facts, game, knowledge, opinions. And you don't even have to agree with our opinions.
As Bruce Murray said, chit-chat and nonsense.
Exactly. But there's always a little fun in the mix. You got to put a couple spoonfuls of fun in there to make the medicine go down in the most, what way, Robin?
In the most delightful way.
Thank you, Mary Poppins. Speaking of Mary Poppins, Miss Robin has we have a couple of stories.
You mean Mary Poopins.
Mary Poopins. There you go, Harry.
There you go, yeah.
There you go. Now, we have a couple of stories here as we wind down on a Tuesday, a Tito's Tuesday.
Although we are having tacos again tonight.
You're having tacos tonight?
Yeah.
I
They're
can't
a
have
weekly
tacos.
favorite.
Yeah, we can't have we can't have
well,
tacos.
You can't have the shell.
You got to use
the
lettuce.
lettuce. Yeah,
yeah. That's why we buy a lot of romaine.
Right.
And you use the romaine leaves, and you make yourself
It
a
works.
nice taco.
It's fine.
Exactly. Meanwhile, so we got a couple of choices. We have Brian Adams, I mentioned earlier. He's now a vegan, but he's ripping the Chinese virus for screwing up his concert at the Royal Albert Hall in London.
Yeah. It didn't. Well, the way he said it, how he said it, it didn't look really good. It's like it's just like you said. It's another rich person complaining about the fact that he can't make even more money.
Yeah, but you don't really know how he's doing.
Yeah.
Maybe he's got 4 divorces that he's paying for. Who knows?
It just comes across wrong.
Well, yeah.
Everything comes
Everything
across wrong
does.
to
I mean,
people.
it's one of those things where that sound effect that you have of Christian Bale really, really works.
Which one? Like this one?
Oh, good for you.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Love that.
Meanwhile, let's get it back to the stories that matter. And let's keep it local. I know we've been talking about California a lot, obviously. We've talked about Florida, all the other states. But let's keep it to New Jersey here.
Well,
Our
somehow or
neighboring
another, I
city.
have a feeling that this is kind of across the nation. I just have a sneaky
You
suspicion.
think so?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a sneaky
Well, I
suspicion.
mean, it really originated in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And now
Well-
it's basically spreading like a virus across the country.
Well, honestly, I think San Franciscans would wish that it were this way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, let's go to our poop, there it is desk with your correspondent, a woman who doesn't use a lot of toilet paper anymore because of the 2 bidets.
Thank God for bidets.
Miss Robin with your Poop New Jersey. New Jersey and you, poop-ic together. Go to the desk, Robin. Come on.
Dateline state and county parks across New Jersey. So the governor finally opened up and allowed people to go into public parks. However,
on May 2nd.
Yes.
Yeah.
However, the public restrooms have still stayed under lockdown. So this created a problem.
And by the way, those public restrooms in those public parks are usually like toxic waste dumps after a good weekend.
They're pretty nasty.
Oh, yeah.
They're very nasty.
Yeah.
But
they're like a porta-john outside the link after an Eagles night game.
Except these are buildings inside.
Right. And well, we won't go into how disgusting they are. Everybody can
People get the idea.
People get the idea. Well, this created a problem for people that were enjoying themselves out in the park, and rather than go behind a bush, what they are doing is they are somehow urinating, and this is the part I don't understand, defecating into plastic bottles and then leaving the plastic bottles all over the park.
No, at least they're not turning it over and throwing it into the streams and lakes and rivers.
No, I don't think they're defecating going number 2 in the bottles.
There's no way it's not physiologically possible.
That's what I was really trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
But they are. It says here that there are plastic bottles filled with urine and feces.
Yeah.
What kind of bottle? How big of a bottle is that?
How do you possibly do that?
Well, I mean, maybe one of those Gatorade bottles that kind of have a wide
but
mouth.
Even then, that's some talent.
That's talent. This is disgusting.
It is disgusting.
I mean, can't you control yourself? Okay, I know you're going to go outside and you want to drink 87 beers and you're going to pee all over the place. All right, I get it.
And
but you don't have control of the other situation.
But like when you're in a golf course.
You're right.
You go pee against a tree or in a bush somewhere.
Right, and there's less trees at my place, so you really got to pick and choose.
But that's not going to kill anything.
Urinating on outdoor stuff, nature, is actually not a bad thing.
Right. I mean, the
animals
the
do
deer,
it all.
the deer does it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, the defecation, I would hope that you could hold it. But leaving it in a plastic bottle that is not going to disintegrate is just disgusting.
Well, it's disgusting anyway. At least with the plastic bottle, I won't step on it. I'll step on the bottle. But either way, I mean, just go home.
No, but
you got to go number 2. Go home.
Now look at the other side. Well, look at the other side of this now, because there's 2 sides to every story.
There's another side to this.
There's another side.
At least they're peeing in a bottle or pooping in a bottle, and instead of leaving it on the grass where somebody could step in it, just some sucker has to come up and pick it up and then take it away. Because they can't do that.
Well, they're not putting it in the trash cans, apparently.
They're just
bottles
leaving
are laying
it.
there.
They're laying all over the place. And here's obviously you were holding the bottle when you were peeing in it. You were holding it.
Right.
However, when you were doing the other thing, so your hand is already touching it.
Yes.
Can't you just take it with you and throw it away somewhere?
People can't even take their gloves from a parking lot at a Home Depot or a Lowe's, and then as they get to the car to take their stuff out and put it in the car, what do they do with those gloves? They don't throw it in the back seat of the car on the floor and then go home and take it out. They throw it right on the streets, and they're doing this all over the world.
It's
not
gross.
just New Jersey. Listen, a lot of strappers in New Jersey. There's no doubt about that.
No doubt. Now, Police Superintendent Colonel Pat Callahan said our park police, our counties, our state police will be on the watch for this. We understand that the restrooms are closed, but people should plan accordingly and should not be urinating in bottles and leaving them behind, because that could lead to us taking another approach going forward. And the governor echoed this. He says, you're not going to get a warning. If we catch you leaving something like this behind,
you will die
folks,
right there.
Can I just say?
Please don't do
I'm
that.
sorry. That is just BS, because we already know elsewhere in the country where people are defecating and urinating all over everywhere, right there out on the street.
They don't get nothing.
The public officials don't do nothing.
Not Harry Callahan. If Harry Callahan were the police chief there, you know what he'd say? This is a 350. What is it? No, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun.
And if used properly, will blow your head clean off.
Yeah. I think what we need to do in this particular case is public shaming.
Yeah.
Like if you see it happening, shame them. Say something. Don't just ignore it.
If you see it happening, see what are you going to do? Take a video of it?
I don't
know.
know.
People video stuff all the time. They just stand there and watch stuff go on and just videotape it.
I don't know. It's just nasty. Nasty.
Yeah, those are the same people that want everybody to stay home.
Right.
Then they go out and they don't even know how to use public facilities. It's a disgrace.
Nice job, New Jersey.
Poop. There it is. Now, did you like this version by Tag Team, or did you like the other one by 95 South?
There it is.
You know, there were two versions.
No,
right?
I like the tag team version.
This one right here?
Yeah.
Well, I believe one is whoop and one is woot.
Oh,
There's
really?
a slight difference.
Is
to
that
it,
right?
Absolutely right. That is Hoomp. There it is. WHOOMP by Tag Team.
So
and then 95 South.
Oh, it's woot.
Woot.
Okay.
So for our purposes, because we're trying to make it into poop, there it
Mm-hmm.
is. We need the P ending one so that it sounds better.
No, you can use either one. I think both apply here. In fact, let me find the 95 South.
So, and everybody, happy National Limerick Day.
That's right. Not the Limerick nuclear power plant, which we drove by the other day heading up to western Pennsylvania, central Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a favorite limerick?
There once was a man from Nantucket. That one. You know that one, huh?
Yeah, I do.
Robin, you have a favorite limerick?
That's about the
I
only
don't.
one I know.
mean, I think that's about the only one that any. I mean, it used to be limericks used to be like normal thing back in the day. You know, well, I'm talking like the 17 and 1800s. But I think that one that you just mentioned is probably the one that most people know now.
Here it is.
But for those of you who do not know what a limerick is,
Why does that sound so distorted?
yeah, it does. Let me see.
Mary, Mary, quite contrary. You know who used a lot of limericks?
Well, yeah, the Dice Man.
The Dice Man had the best limericks of them all. Mother Goose.
I think he dropped the mic on limericks. Okay, it's over.
Oh, here we go. This is the explicit version now. I don't want people to hear bad words. Yeah.
Oh, here's one. Here's one so that I will do a full limerick for you all who do not know what a limerick is. There once was a man named O'Doul who found red spots dotting his tool. His doctor, a cynic, ran him out of the clinic crying, "Wipe off that lipstick, you fool."
Oh, Robin, really?
That is a limerick.
Oh, God.
Without using any bad words.
How about the, I think the man from Nantucket one is probably safer for radio purposes. Hickory dickory.
That one would not be safe.
I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell happened.
Jack and Jill went up the hill.
Jack and Jill. Oh, now people are saying
Jill came
sorry.
down with 250.
Sorry,
Oh!
Robin. People are asking
That
for
was
it.
that is not one that I made up. It is part of the site where everybody is celebrating National Limerick Day.
Both with $1.25. That's
Jill
the
came
end.
down with 250.
Oh!
I believe that was a joke that got him banned for life from MTV.
Is it really?
Exactly right.
Yeah.
He was the greatest. We should get him on.
We got to get the Dice Man
All right.
on.
Okay.
We want to thank everybody. Troy Aikman, how great was he today?
Fantastic.
John Salisbury.
Great.
And Adnan Virk.
Really good.
Awesome stuff. National Dice Clay Day, everybody. Another great show coming up tomorrow. Who do we have, Robin?
Tomorrow we have Chris Terrian and Chris Burns, two Chris's.
Oh, it's a crisscross What
Yeah.
Up Wednesday.
And I'm working on some others.
Be careful out there. Don't drink and drive. Don't text and drive. And God bless America. It's still the greatest country on earth. And if you want to stay inside, you stay the hell inside. Good night, everybody.
All right, twitchy people. Thank you all for joining us. Make sure that you tell all of your friends that if they want to interact with the show and they want to listen during the commercial breaks, Twitch is the only place to do that. And make sure that you help people find it, because Twitch is not exactly user friendly for people that aren't gamers. So anybody that's out there that is not familiar with Twitch, apparently they cannot navigate the Twitch realm. So everybody that knows how to get on there, please help them find it. it would be much appreciated. And on that note, I'm going to, you know what I'm going to play out? This is just for Sean. I'm going to play this song, Going Out.
You got to read these Bloomberg stories. Oh, we're going down to Houston.
Well, it's lonesome in this whole town.
I love this song.
Everybody puts me down. I'm a face without a name. And walking in the rain. They're going down to Houston. Hello.
Houston, Houston. I got holes in both of my shoes.
Come on, Harry, sing it.
I don't know I don't know the lyrics.
Saw a dollar.
It's Dean, right?
Yeah.
But the wind blew it away. Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston.
I'll give me a little bit of that harmonica in the middle
I
here.
haven't eaten in about a week.
Me neither.
I'm so hungry when I walk, I squeak. Nobody calls me friend. It's sad the shape I'm in. They're going back to Houston, Houston.
This is a great harmonica riff right here in the middle.
Going back to Houston, Houston, Houston. I got a girl waiting out for me. Well, at least she said she'd be. I got a home.
So here's the interesting breakdowns from Bloomberg